an emergency broadcast. I saw this earlier where the fires in Washington were approaching Spokane, Washington. And I was like, check back on that. So I checked back, and sure enough, it is burning houses. Emergency evacuations are going on. It looks like directed energy weapon use to me. All right. We're seeing the telltale signs, trees burning from within, out in the middle of nowhere. The branches are completely nothing going on, but the whole trunk of the tree is on fire. Directed energy weapon. There's homes that are burned where there's, again, trees all around them, but the houses are burning. So we'll see tomorrow, probably some devastation. But right now, as we're speaking, there's emergency evacuations, people having to leave their homes very quickly. It's looks pretty devastating. And there's a In-N-Out Burger shooting, mass shooting. Now we know Spokane, Washington is a conservative enclave. It's kind of like some of the other places that have been hit by directed energy weapon attacks. So conservative places, seems like they're going after them. Now we saw that Fauci was basically brought before, humiliated in front of. And now I think all bets are off, and the deep state is going to really sock it to us. And we talked about this as we start to take down the deep state and start to expose them. They're going to come. They're really going to start to unleash a lot of stuff on us. So I think this is what we're seeing right now: the fires up and down Northern California to Washington State, Oregon State. Fires are out of control, and a lot of those areas. And we're seeing a conservative company, the CEO of In-N-Out Burger, decided to leave California because it was so bad. And this is kind of the stuff we're going to start to see. Now, remember in Idaho, we had those college kids that were stabbed. I basically said that was a false flag that they did on that one, and I proved a lot of things on that. So Idaho seems to be a pretty bad place. They got some bad people in there that are doing some pretty out of control stuff. So let's jump in. Let's look at some of the stuff that's going on out there. So there's a live feed that I'm looking at, and just like I said, looks like these houses are catching on fire. Now you're going to see here, back here, there's trees on fire, but it looks like the houses caught them on fire. Right? It's not the trees that are on fire that are bringing the fire to the homes. The homes are being directed energy weapon attacked, I believe, and they're catching the trees on fire. So look at this.
It's in the Spokane, Washington area. Look at that. Let's go look this for a second. It's pretty. Okay, so they are saying the county commissioners are meeting in about a minute. They are going to be declaring a state of emergency. This is bad. This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Evacuations along Indian Trail. We've had people report it took them 4 hours to get out of the traffic. There was a bottleneck that wasn't moving. Barnes Road was shut down there, which is right near the Indian Trail Shopping Center. Rudder Parkway has been affected. And then if you go a little higher elevation up Strong Road to 5 Mile Prairie, there was major evacuations there. There's some reports that some homes on the 5 Mile Prairie might be lost, but that has not been confirmed by officials. But we can tell you, this fire just burned a path from west to east and the northwest quadrant of town. Let's take you back to Heidi Miley live. Heidi.
This is crazy.
All right. Hi, Sean. We just arrived here along Highway 2. I'm checking where Espanola Road is. That's what I'm near. And we are about 20 miles east of Davenport. We are.
All right. So I'm pretty concerned about, like I've talked about these deep states, deep state states, all right, Democrat states. Now, Spokane is a very conservative area. It's being burned, and they have police that are starting to block off roads, just like they did in Lahaina. All right, so there was just a report that it was taking people 4 hours to get out of a certain area trying to evacuate. And one of the reasons because they're shutting down roads. All right. Some for good reason, because they're in areas into neighborhoods where the fire is being directed, in my opinion. But we're going to have to, I've been saying for a long time, we're going to have to get out of these big blue cities, guys, and the states themselves now. You can be a conservative in one of these blue states like Oregon or Washington or California, and they're going to burn you out of your homes. And so, this is some of the things. This is my opinion. I've been watching this stuff. A lot of people have been watching this stuff. You can, figure this out for yourself. Maybe it's a nothing burger to you, but for me, I'm very concerned about this. Right? I've been talking about this for quite some time. All right, so let's look at some of these other. So I just threw this together real quick. I checked back in to see what was going on, and as it stands now, thousands have been ordered to flee homes as fast-moving wildfire grows in Spokane County, Washington. And it's nighttime, as you see behind me. It's nighttime here. Pretty much, the whole U.S. is nighttime now. We're the last ones to get the light here on the West Coast, but those guys are evacuating in the dark, right? Not good. And then you're going to have some of these people are going to go into roads that are like clogged with, people trying to flee, just like we saw in Paradise, California, where people tried to flee and, they were getting stuck trying to flee. And again, people burned to death in their cars. All right. So, and that makes no sense. So in some of those areas where people burned to death in their cars, there was, the forest on either side of the road wasn't touched. So again, you're in a deep blue state and you're conservative. You're gonna have to be careful now, guys. It's on. All right, they're coming after conservatives now, and now we're coming after them for trying to force that on us. We're even coming after those Democrats. They don't even realize it, that they were forced to get the vaccination as well, and that communism is trying to take over a lot of these Democrat states. It's getting out of control, right? So thousands are fleeing. The Old Trails fire, as they're calling it, fueled by extreme fire weather conditions, has burned nearly 3,000 acres, and they're starting to burn buildings. Right, so adding about 4,000 buildings are threatened in the area. The full extent of the damage is not yet clear. We won't know because now it's night. We won't know until the morning what kind of devastation they're going to do. Right, this is a very, very tragic thing. I don't know about you guys, but we're gonna have to stop this because law enforcement is involved. Politicians are involved, the judicial's involved, and we, the people, are being, hunted and destroyed. Our homes now and our lands, we are being destroyed, literally, figuratively, on many different levels. We're gonna have to, use the Constitution because they are not letting us use the Constitution to go after them and get them out of power. So we're gonna have to do something else. All right. This is something that really needs to be looked at very carefully. And it's not for me to, say that we're going to do this or that. It's just that legally we have to start to band together and have our own groups, constitutional groups, with law enforcement on our side, judicial on our side, and start to take these people out. All right. They're causing these fires. I've talked to people that said that they're part of firefighting and they weren't calling them to come fight fires. They were letting them get out of control like this. So we're seeing what they're doing. We're seeing what they're doing now, right? You got fires burning in towns. You've got level 3 evacuations like I haven't seen before. Well said. This is a very dangerous and very complex series of events, and it's unfolding very rapidly in the darkness now, right? I hope these people, I pray for these people. They need prayers. So send their prayers. Okay, so here is a little bit more news on that situation.
Near 291 Northwest Spokane, our team coverage on this major breaking story continues with Haley Gunther.
Sean, we are live here near Providence and Northwest Boulevard, where you can see a massive plume of smoke.
Now, this is 4 hours ago. As you see, it's still light there. But in the background, you're going to be able to see homes. And it's approaching.
Flames continuing to pop up throughout this region. It is heartbreaking. It is devastating as the winds continue to whip around. I spoke with a couple moments ago, and they say it took them about 30 minutes, Sean, to make it about a mile as they were rushing to evacuate their home. The husband actually describing it as what looked like a war zone. And you are continuing to see this rapid spread, this rapid growth. I'm going to bring in Brent here. So Brent lives just on the fringe of those level 3 evacuation orders. But Brent, I know that you're extremely uneasy. A lot of your neighbors, you can see, are putting water on their fences, on their homes. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. This is a cataclysmic event that's happening right now. We're watching it from the ridge all the way to the VA hospital. Palisades fire that you saw.
Similar to a Palisades fire. Yes, because they're coming after our towns, guys. Very similar, right? They're burning us out of our towns now.
In California a couple years ago. This is really, truly devastating. And the wind just makes it insurmountable for these firemen to even get a handle on it. They're throwing everything they can at it, but as you can see on the ridge, we're watching houses burn.
Yeah, I'm going to have my photographer zoom in there. As you can see, flames are continuing to pop up there. And that's been the scene here for the past hour, just seeing that rapid spread.
So it's just one of those things that people need to be prepared. And when they tell you to evacuate, evacuate. Get what you can and get out, because there's nothing worse than a fire of this. This is just a tragedy we're witnessing here, and it's just really sad. So yeah, we're right on the fringe of it, but the wind's blowing away from our houses, but we're all sort of getting prepared in case it changes. So yeah, it's really sad. It's a sad deal.
Yeah, the couple I spoke to that rushed to evacuate under that level 3, they said that they grabbed medication and documents, and that was it. They were out in a second. And you just see that. You can see those flames continue to pop up, and it's been in multiple spots there.
Yes, it's just they've evacuated pretty much as many people. They've shut down Northwest.
All right, so this is the way it always happens, doesn't it? They can't give us enough warning because they don't want to give us enough warning, because they're directing these fires very quietly, very psychopathically, and they're not putting people in positions that can stop these fires because they want them to burn these towns. All right. So this is some of the stuff we're starting to witness, and I say that because we're going after the deep state, Fauci and his crew, what would you guys want? Because you guys, like me, you've been like, well, when we're going to arrest these guys. This is the consequence of doing that, right? This type of stuff. And it's going to get a lot worse. Going to get a whole lot worse before, we really start to, lean on these guys and take more of these people down. Now, here is someone was driving through a neighborhood, evacuating, I would imagine, and they're getting some of the shots. So we're going to get a lot more of this tomorrow. I'll do a more in-depth show, and this is directed energy weapon attack. Absolutely. All right. So again, house burning, trees all around it, not touched. Directed energy weapon attack. This house, nothing left, right? Down to ashes. Sinks, porcelain sinks, you know, metal washers and dryers, stoves, all that metal, nothing left. All right, so there is some charred area. Of course, when you light houses on fire, that can spread. Looks like it has spread. Maybe some of the directed energy weapons, you know, were, you know, strategically hit certain areas that were very dry. Maybe they did a lot of, you know, maybe even during the night where people can't see it, they came across and dumped the aluminum from the planes. All right, so that gets in the trees and that causes these fires to go into like super fire mode. So that's probably some of the stuff they've done too. Maybe some people there would know about that, could talk about that. But, you know, there's not a lot of people that understand this, and a lot of people still discount it. So, so these devastating fires happen. Of course, you know, it's a tragedy that people are going through this. You think we'd rise up together and just take down these governments that are basically these city governments, and obviously and the state governments and so forth that are basically, you know, doing this stuff. So are allowing it to happen. So and like I said, I've talked to people when I was up in Washington State on James Gilliland's ranch that are part of, you know, or somebody told me that they knew someone that is part of fighting these fires, and they told her that, you know, they weren't directed to go to some of these fires. And so they sent people themselves, and they saw that these fires were way out of control and they should have been called long ago. So this is part of what these governments do, guys. All right. They're part of, you know, taking out the people that are going to resist them, the people of Spokane, you know, Lahaina, you know, wherever, Paradise, you know, Palisades, you name the place where conservative people are, and they're being burned out of their homes, right? So we're the resistance, and they're taking down the resistance, right? So this is war against us, total war against us, and also physical war, like we're seeing in Idaho at In-N-Out, like I talked about. So let's look at this. So this is ongoing. Somebody went in and shot up an In-N-Out burger because the In-N-Out burger is basically Christian backed. Their CEO does not like the policies of the deep state in California and left. And so they're being punished. And they're being punished in a place evidently where they have control, Idaho. All right, so we've seen this is another shooting, stabbing in the other instance, those college kids that supposedly were stabbed. I don't believe they were. And was this real? We'll have to see. We'll have to see the information as we go forward. But I wouldn't doubt that they did an attack on In-N-Out. That makes total sense to me.
Is that we've had a shooting at the In-N-Out location that has resulted in fatalities. I don't have the exact number confirmed. We're still trying to make notification of their next of kin. We're trying to work.
Okay, earlier, this is like about an hour or so ago where this meeting came out. They were saying like 3, and I don't know if that's a shooter 2 or what, but there was many that were wounded. So some of those that are wounded could succumb to their wounds. Might be why he's saying, you know, we don't have the numbers yet. So, but initially they put out
St. Luke's and our coroner's office to ascertain the exact numbers of fatalities. We also have a number, literally hundreds of people that were in some way, shape, or form in the area of this restaurant at the time that are being interviewed right now. The resources for all of our agencies are completely on board. We are interviewing as many people as we can, but we're encouraging the public, if you have any information about this incident, whether you directly saw something, you have any information about it, to let us know. I can also reassure the community right now, we believe that the threat to the community is over. The suspected shooter in this incident.
All right. Again, you know, they're not going to tell us when they're going to do their attacks. All right. There's probably somebody they knew, probably somebody saw the threat, probably somebody that saw this, you know, who knows, maybe a Manchurian candidate activated. There's probably some people that knew that he was potentially, you know, he should have been put away. That's probably some of the stories will come. I don't know. We're just hearing about this. So, so that's pretty much, what's going to happen. More attacks. These are just my opinions, of course. I'm not there. I can't gather the information. All I can do is observe, but it's very similar to other things that we've talked about and other people have talked about as far as directed energy weapon use and, attacks on conservative, institutions and so forth, conservative neighborhoods. This is a ongoing thing, and it's not going to stop. All right. It's not going to stop until we completely and absolutely take down the deep state. Right. We obviously need to get more aggressive. They're at war with us. They've gone totally kinetic with us on us in the United States. These direct energy weapon attacks and these, setting these fires and so forth. That's an assault on us, and it's pretty devastating. So we have to get rid of them all. That's right. All of them. Right. We know who they are. Right. So I don't know. I mean, we keep hearing that we're going to, these guys are going to go to justice or whatever. All it is talk. 6 years, BS. And all we get is like tongue lashing of Fauci. Right. That's all we got right now. And this is the result of that, I think. All right. Some of this, and probably there's a lot more that's coming. There's a lot more that we could probably tie to this or that. And so we do this, they do that. This is the way wars are fought. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Just want to jump on here and get this information out there so you guys are informed. Do your own research. Pray for those people. They're in Spokane. They're going to need it. They're in the midst of horrifying situation. Who knows how it's going to end for some of these people. All right. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and we'll see you guys next time.
These same criminals were behind the Act of 1871 that gave them power over U.S. taxpayer monies and thus the global financial system. The Illuminati, CCP, Khazarians, Rothschilds, Vatican, Obama's U.S. Inc., and Zionists were the real leaders in the New World Order depopulation Agenda 2030. They have been implementing AI control of the world's population. Silicon Valley algorithms were engineered by intelligence agencies to suppress sovereign thought, alternative history, and spiritual awakening. In July 2026, thanks to the BRICS Alliance and Trump, Global Military Alliance, the new quantum financial system was implemented worldwide. More than 85% of countries have joined this quantum financial grid. Implementation of the quantum financial system's global currency, reset to gold asset-backed currency of 209 nations that trades at one with each other, has allowed President Trump to reverse the Act of 1871 and the 1913 Federal Reserve and City of London Act. Those acts alone allowed the deep state cabal to set up their privately owned Federal Reserve and IRS. The 6 major corporate media conglomerates were entirely run by CIA and Mossad assets. Their sole directive was to project low-frequency fear, keeping humanity trapped in loops of helplessness, division, and artificial scarcity for the sake of the New World Order depopulation, Agenda 2030. Reversal of the acts meant no more U.S. Inc., UK Crown and Vatican control over U.S. taxpayer monies, plus dissolved the Commonwealth, Maritime Law, and Balfour Declaration. The U.S. returned to a new republic functioning under concepts of the original Constitution. A new age of freedom and liberty was born for the world. That has happened with help of the global alliance and BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China less the CCP, and South Africa. Every reunion is a reminder that compassion, dignity, and family can transcend even the darkest of times. War. My representative and I continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. Sidney Powell. The CIA knew there was foreign interference in the stolen 2020 election, and they knew these machines were compromised. The goal was always to control the outcome of our elections. Both Democratic and Republican politicians have been diverting children's, healthcare, and education funds into their own political campaigns. Trump's military tribunals were in full swing at Gitmo, where lies of the deep state elites were falling apart in the biggest takedown in history. Evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. A military official confirms that military trials of deep state leadership have been held at Guantanamo since 2020. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network were getting information from these testimonies that destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Trump's troops have taken control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking. Attacked hangars. Crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. Airline CEO testimonies revealed global currency reset. WED 29 July 2026. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation, it's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. WED 29 July 2026. Marksy, looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters, headed to Reno tomorrow. 31 July 2026. Tier 4 Internet Group and Zim bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Thurs. 30 July 2026. Bruce, the Big Call Universe, IBIZ. Com, 667-770-1866 sources say Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, could be notified tomorrow. Fry. 31 July 2026 with exchanges starting Sat. 1 AUG. Currency exchanges and Zim redemption at redemption centers could go to Fry. 21 AUG. 2026. Redemption centers will give you higher currency exchange rates, will give the dinar contract rate, and can redeem Zim bonds. Banks cannot. On that Fry. 21 AUG. 2026 banks will begin exchanging for the general public. Wells Fargo is in charge of redemption centers for the U.S. HSBC and Scotiabank are available in Canada. The new U.S. Treasury note will be available in cash at the redemption center. If you are a Zim holder and you have a dire health need, the final countdown, QFS activation, NEARS. The quantum financial system is no longer a theory or a distant possibility, it is imminent. The final phase of integration is underway, with global infrastructure shifting to accommodate the most advanced financial architecture ever conceived. Nations are quietly aligning their systems, preparing for the complete and irreversible transition to a gold-backed, transparent economy. Debt slavery ends. Central banks, once the lifeblood of the cabal's control, are being phased out. Trillions in fraudulent debt, created through deception, will be wiped clean. Governments will no longer be able to enslave their people through perpetual borrowing. No more market manipulation. Stock markets, forex, and commodities have long been manipulated by elite financial institutions. With QFS, every transaction is monitored in real time, ensuring fair valuation based on true supply and demand. The age of artificial crashes and economic blackmail is over. Instantaneous settlements, the days of slow, manipulated banking transfers are gone. With quantum processing speeds, transactions will settle instantly. No intermediaries, no hidden fees, no delays. The people will finally have control over their own wealth. The collapse of the fiat system is UNDRWAY. Look around. The signs are everywhere. Banks are shutting down. Major financial institutions are restructuring. Nations are hoarding gold. The old system is imploding under its own corruption. Governments and elite players are scrambling, but there is no escape. QFS has already accounted for every last piece of hidden wealth, and when the final switch is flipped, their ill-gotten gains will be worthless. The Great Awakening and global economic freedom. The world is about to experience the greatest financial reset in human history, but only those who are prepared will thrive. The coming weeks will be intense. Banking collapses, arrests, and sudden economic shifts will shake the unawakened masses. But for those who understand what is happening, this is the dawn of a new era. Watch for public announcements. The transition will not be hidden much longer. Official disclosures will confirm the QFS activation, marking the true beginning of the wealth redistribution process. Stay out of fear. The chaos you see is the necessary destruction of a broken system. Trust the process. Prepare for prosperity. Those aligned with the new system will witness abundance like never before. Financial oppression is ending, and the future of sovereign wealth is here. The quantum financial system, QFS, has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire. The QFS has replaced the SWIFT system with an unhackable, AI-driven network supported by the secret space program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. THRS, 30 July 2026 ISO 20022, doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. 20,022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. Under MT, a message might say only, funds transferred details on file. Under ISO 20022, the same transaction must specify exact source of funds, exact economic purpose, exact ownership structure, exact intermediary chain, exact fees, spreads, FX rates, exact regulatory category, exact counterparty information, machine readable, machine auditable, right arrow, machine reconcilable. The opacity dies, not because ISO 20022 accuses anyone, but because everything is finally described in forensic detail. This is the transparency upgrade. This blows open hidden flows, skimming, off-ledger pools, errors, mismatches, misallocated collateral, etc. Banks, correspondent networks, FX desks, and clearing houses have relied for decades on. Omnibus accounts, blended fee buckets, net settlement, smoothing, miscoded purpose fields, internal suspense accounts, delayed reconciliation. ISO 20022 wipes out the shadows where these techniques lived. Not by accusation, but by precision. The post-cutover world becomes deterministic, not probabilistic under MT. Trust us, it balances. Under ISO 20022, prove it. Every field, every hop, every custodian, every fee, every spread, every timestamp. This is an audit-grade digital paper trail. The only ones who fear this level of illumination are those who depend.
This is all a massive psyop. And yes, technically, they're telling you the truth. But these tens of thousands of people crossing over into Spain have actually crossed over into an enclave of Spain in Africa called Ceuta. This is all done as a psyop. They haven't actually come into the mainland of Spain as yet, although if the psyop doesn't work, I'm sure they'll put them on the next boat. This is all supposed to wake you up so that you can see what's going on. This is all a movie. This is all a pantomime. I've told you, and I've told you, and I've told you. The sooner people wake up to the pantomime, the movie, what's going on, the quicker we can get through it. But this has to be done to wake up the masses. What's happening in South Korea with the collapse of the stock market? This is a trigger that will cause a knock-on effect of huge scale. The same with Japan selling all of their bonds and their stocks, US bonds, US stocks. This is all part of the collapsing of the old United States hegemony, the system. And Donald Trump is at the heart of collapsing the old US, the United States of America corporation, the one that was the United Kingdom, or the City of London, not the United Kingdom, the City of London had total control over, but no longer. This is all being dismantled in plain sight. And it's very interesting when you listen to what's going on here in the Middle East. The blockade of the Straits of Hormuz, which stops American shipping from going through whilst everyone else does, actually hurts America more than anybody. And the United States of America Corporation thought it would hurt China. They'd just forgotten one thing. China has become far less dependent on oil than America. China, many years ago, moved across to electronics, electric cars. 60% of the cars in China run on electric, not on solid fuel, as in petroleum, gasoline, diesel. So the United States of America have actually gone into this without knowing the damage that they've done to the US, they've done to themselves. But this is all part of the plan to dismantle the old United States of America corporation. But what will happen is there will be the birth of America, not the United States, America. 37 countries coming together in prosperity, and that includes Cuba and Venezuela and Mexico and Canada, and the list goes on.
The global election rigging machine just GOT exposed. And it started with a bet. Mr. Poole on Telegram, the mainstream media is trying to contain the damage. They are calling it a UK Conservative Party betting scandal. They want you to believe that a few British politicians simply used inside information to win money on election dates. They are lying. This is not about gambling. This is about global election manipulation. Here are the facts they cannot suppress. Multiple high-ranking officials are under active investigation by gambling regulators. The chief data officer of the ruling party has been forced to step down. Millions of dollars are moving through offshore accounts. The investigation is expanding daily, pulling in more politicians who thought they were untouchable. But here is the terrifying truth that military intelligence has uncovered. These betting markets are not casinos. They are the new deep state mechanism for laundering money to fund election interference worldwide. The alliance has tracked the financial flows. The £5 million gifts from foreign billionaires, the offshore accounts, the synchronized betting patterns. It is all a sophisticated cover to move untraceable funds to operatives who rig elections, suppress truth, and maintain the deep state's grip on power. What is happening in the UK right now is exactly what they have been doing in the United States. The same players, the same offshore accounts, the same manipulation. But Donald Trump and his military intelligence team have been watching. They allowed the deep state to use these markets because it created a digital paper trail. Every transaction was recorded. Every politician who took the bait is now trapped in the net. The panic in London is mirroring the panic in Washington, D.C. The globalist elite realize their entire financial mechanism for controlling elections has been exposed. The UK scandal is just the first domino to fall. When Trump returns, the full scope of this international money laundering operation will be declassified. The globalist politicians who sold out their countries will face military tribunals. The evidence is overwhelming, and the traps have already been sprung. Code: election marketing global LAUNDRNG nexus / UK domino falling / the trap is sprung. The stage is being set. The Great Awakening is not just American, it is global. A NASA senior engineer just escaped to Switzerland. He worked on the BLACKTAL project for 11 years. He just leaked the FILES. He made contact with our secure server 24 hours ago. His security clearance and employment records have been fully verified. He worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and a classified underground facility in Nevada from 2013 to 2025, on a propulsion system that the public is told is physically impossible. He calls it Project Etha. His exact words, unedited. In 2018, we didn't just receive a signal from deep space. We decoded a blueprint, a complete geometric formula for reactionless zero-point energy and sublight propulsion. The first time I saw it tested in the Nevada desert, the test vehicle, a disc 30 meters wide, lifted off the ground without sound, without heat exhaust, and without burning a single drop of fuel. It reached Mars orbit in 3 hours. Not months, not years, 3 hours. I watched instruments lock onto the Martian atmosphere while eating my morning coffee in the observation bunker. We had humanity stepping onto another planet a decade ago. I asked the program director, "When do we announce this to the public? Energy crises would end tomorrow." He laughed and said, "Kid, the global economy runs on oil and debt. If free energy drops, the power structure collapses before nightfall." In 11 years, I cataloged 44 unmanned probes sent to the outer solar system using ETHA Drive's 12 crewed orbital flights, establishing deep space infrastructure, 0 carbon emissions, 0 fuel costs, 100% limitless clean, power the total suppression of 19 independent inventor patents globally. The worst part wasn't the secrecy. It was watching the news. I would leave a facility where we were mapping out mining operations on the moons of Jupiter and drive home past gas stations charging $5 a gallon, watching families choose between groceries and heating their homes. I would see governments arguing over carbon taxes and climate crises, and I knew we had solved energy forever, locked behind 3-inch steel doors 500 feet beneath the desert sand. Why he fled. Last month, they approved the commercialization of the technology, but exclusively for private orbital defense stations controlled by 3 megacorporations. The public was scheduled to get a carbon tax increase in the same fiscal quarter. They were going to tax people for the air they breathe while using free space drive tech for corporate expansion. I copied 40 gigabytes of schematics onto an encrypted drive, walked out of the gate, and didn't stop driving until I crossed the border. Why he's RELESNG it now? I am not hiding anymore. They can label me a traitor, but the real treason is keeping humanity chained to the Stone Age while the stars are already within our reach. I have telemetry data. I have financial trails linking defense contractors to the suppression orders. I have the names of every official who signed off on the blackout. The technology belongs to humanity, not to a board of directors. His final message: to every person struggling with an energy bill this winter, you were lied to. The universe is overflowing with infinite power. They kept it from you to keep you dependent. To the engineers and scientists still inside, you know the math, you know it works. Walk out before it's too late. To the agency, you can lock my lab, but you can't unleak the truth. Gitmo GROWS as GSARA activation, SDRTS. Trump's military TRIBUNLS are in full swing. Airline CEO TSDM1IS revealed deep state flight RUTES, and Fiat collapse is imminent, is growing under the direct control of the U.S. Marines, who work for President Donald J. Trump, the real commander-in-chief in 2025. The lies of the fake government are falling apart. The storm is tearing through elite networks behind the scenes. There are no more ways out. found hiding places. In the biggest takedown in history, evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. These aren't upgrades, they're expansions of war prisons. New blocks with a lot of security. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. An insider leak confirms that several airline CEOs are giving testimony while being protected. They didn't just run airlines, they also ran secret trafficking routes with private jets, hidden cargo, fake manifests, and secret terminals. Kids, black budget tech, and stolen goods are all up in the air, out of sight of the public. Their encrypted flight logs back up what the whistleblower said. A lot of them lead to black sites in the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Trump never lost power. He set off the military chain of command in 2021 with secret orders that are now being carried out with exact precision. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network are getting information from these testimonies. They are meant to destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Jassara is no longer coming. It's already happening. More than 85% of countries have joined the quantum financial grid. People in test areas are getting quantum access cards. The wealth that has been stolen for hundreds of years will be given back to we the people. Control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking. Attacked hangars. Crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. This isn't politics.
To that. Now, at this moment, it's about closing ranks. You may disagree and still be a good guy whether or not we should pause the election this fall. But at the end of the day, it's not everybody's, it's not up for discussion at some level. The decision, I would contend, has already been made. And in order to protect the republic, there isn't any way to fix the election system before November 3rd this year. Why? Because it's already fixed. You already have candidates on the ballot through fraudulent primaries, fraudulent votes in the primaries because you didn't clean the voter rolls and you didn't fix the election systems, machines, etc. So now you have, if you did go proceed forward with the vote, you would have a fraudulent election no matter what at this point this year on November 3rd. And you have states like California trying to bring in other allied states to go forward no matter what Trump does within a commander-in-chief role. So there is going to be civil unrest, and there is going to be stuff at the state level to challenge Trump's authority.
How much civil unrest, how many threats have we neutralized, Juanito? Have we neutralized, what, 60%, 70, 80%? How many of the threats have we neutralized? I mean, what are they willing to do? What are they capable of doing?
I don't know if I could quantify that precisely because there's different levels of threat. You know, we, even within what the president is doing, buying time over this last 5 years, through a prior election, another midterm, the presidential election, 2024. How do you gauge the magnitude of each individual threat, the country falling into civil war or nuclear devices? Remember, the lead up to the 2024 election, we had everything that could fly out searching for any hidden signatures of nukes loose in America, as well as other places. We still haven't located all of those missing nukes. And in fact, there's still a threat, Iran. The whole thing with, right now, Alex Jones is saying Trump's getting ready to send troops into Iran that were, getting ready to reinstitute the draft system. And we're going to send troops, whether they like it or not, into Iran. It's actually a bullshit statement. And all we're doing is re-implementing a ability to sign up for a draft if it was necessary. And those processes are continuing into the fall. It's a national security issue, but doesn't say we're sending anybody into Iran or would even need to or want to. We don't want to put troops in the ground. He's shutting down wars, not starting them up. And if you have to bring them to a head and get it over with, that's on the course of shutting it down and dismantling Iran internally from a militarized standpoint. In fact, the one thing going to the nuke stuff, what Trump is really doing there, in part, he's looking for who's going to get in control in Iran that's going to agree to give us all of the yellow cake, all of the, as he likes to refer to it, nuclear dust, the highly refined material from which you make enriched uranium material useful for a bomb. He wants all that back, as he states it, back. What do you mean back? Did we have it ever in the first place? Yeah. A lot of that stuff that came from uranium-1 sales that went to Russia and then went to Iran. And we want it back. It was done under frauds by the Clintons and the Obamas. We want it back so they can't make a nuclear bomb out of that material. And until we get a regime that's willing to give it back to us, there won't be any peace. And we're not in any rush to have peace out of Iran and then have the oil flowing again to disrupt oil supplies, providing it into China and other things. So as long as they're not willing to work with us, then, let them just sit. And that is to the benefit of the Iranian people. We're trying very meticulously to keep civilian deaths to the absolute barest minimum, no matter what anybody's telling you. From our side, it is a war zone, and there's a lot of drama there. Nothing's perfect in war. And then as far as selling out to Israel, that's the complete charade. Falsehood.
What do you think about that? Benjamin Netanyahu being here, he was berating Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio publicly, it looked like, in a video. He looks very angry.
It didn't just look like it. It was a fact. He was berating him. Yeah.
So, yeah, what was that about? He looks pissed. And I told my audience today on Ringside with Nino, well, there's a reason he's mad.
Yeah.
He's pissed because we're not playing ball.
Yeah. Trump is, again, a lot of the problems in the world, people want to say it's a Jew problem. It's an Israel problem. I would contend that that is a misstatement. It is a globalista problem, and they use the shield of different factions and groups, Hezbollah, Iran, China even. China is not run internally. China is run by the banks out of the city of London. China is just a branch office. Hong Kong, just a branch office for the banks out of the city of London, where the Queen has to curtsy and bow before the mayor. The King has to curtsy and bow before the mayor of the city of London once a year to show who's really in charge. What, the King of England? The Queen of England has to bow to the mayor of the city of London? You bet your fat ass. What's going on here? The banks are running this stuff, including China. We're fighting a group that's different than most people even understand. It's an illusion. You're seeing a mirage of power, and who's the real powers behind the thrones. That's what Trump's really fighting. When he cut off the oil flow out of Iran and the money and the troll tax for every tanker going through the Gulf was going to the city of London. That's what he cut off. He cut off the money supply, USAID, to be used by SES and Serco. Serco being the British Commonwealth version of senior executive service here in America, doing that same stuff worldwide. We're cutting off the money flow to these places around the world. Trump is damaging and has been damaging, and the generals behind Trump have been damaging the cash flow and the arms flow to the people who want to have continuous wars all across the planet. And we're getting closer and closer by the hour to now coming home, as we quiet things around the world, to having this internal fight to recapture control of the helm of the ship of state of America from these pirates, these globalista who have hijacked control of the ship of state of America. And Trump's leading that charge with the generals behind him. It's a gruesome thing, but you don't have to wait very long. You'll be able to see pretty shortly, is Trump right or is Corsi right? Is Trump on the saving path, or is Alex Jones the one that knows more about what's going on? Who will be proven true in this? And your audience has been given great service by you, Nino, in at least allowing the other people to state their case and look at it. And now time will be the test, and we don't have long to wait. It's not years now to find out where this is going. You'll know in a matter of months where this is going.
These same criminals were behind the Act of 1871 that gave them power over U.S. taxpayer monies and thus the global financial system. The Illuminati, CCP, Khazarians, Rothschilds, Vatican, Obama's U.S. Inc., and Zionists were the real leaders in the New World Order depopulation Agenda 2030. They have been implementing AI control of the world's population. Silicon Valley algorithms were engineered by intelligence agencies to suppress sovereign thought, alternative history, and spiritual awakening. In July 2026, thanks to the BRICS Alliance and Trump, Global Military Alliance, the new quantum financial system was implemented worldwide. More than 85% of countries have joined this quantum financial grid. Implementation of the quantum financial system's global currency, reset to gold asset-backed currency of 209 nations that trades at one with each other, has allowed President Trump to reverse the Act of 1871 and the 1913 Federal Reserve and City of London Act. Those acts alone allowed the deep state cabal to set up their privately owned Federal Reserve and IRS. The 6 major corporate media conglomerates were entirely run by CIA and Mossad assets. Their sole directive was to project low-frequency fear, keeping humanity trapped in loops of helplessness, division, and artificial scarcity for the sake of the New World Order depopulation, Agenda 2030. Reversal of the acts meant no more U.S. Inc., UK Crown and Vatican control over U.S. taxpayer monies, plus dissolved the Commonwealth, Maritime Law, and Balfour Declaration. The U.S. returned to a new republic functioning under concepts of the original Constitution. A new age of freedom and liberty was born for the world. That has happened with help of the Global Alliance and BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China less the CCP, and South Africa. Every reunion is a reminder that compassion, dignity, and family can transcend even the darkest of times: war. My representative and I continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. Sidney Powell. The CIA knew there was foreign interference in the stolen 2020 election, and they knew these machines were compromised. The goal was always to control the outcome of our elections. Both Democratic and Republican politicians have been diverting children's, healthcare, and education funds into their own political campaigns. Trump's military tribunals were in full swing at Gitmo, where lies of the deep state elites were falling apart in the biggest takedown in history. Evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. A military official confirms that military trials of deep state leadership have been held at Guantanamo since 2020. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network were getting information from these testimonies that destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Trump's troops have taken control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking, attacked hangars, crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. Airline CEO testimonies revealed global currency reset. WED 29 July 2026. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation, it's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. WED 29 July 2026. Marxy, looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters, headed to Reno tomorrow. 31 July 2026. Tier 4 Internet Group and Zim bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Thurs. 30 July 2026 Bruce. The Big Call Universe, IBIS. Com, 667-770-1866 sources say Tier 4B us, the Internet Group, could be notified tomorrow Fry. 31 July 2026 with exchanges starting SAT. 1 AUG. Currency exchanges and ZIM redemption at redemption centers could go to Fry. 21 AUG. 2026. Redemption centers will give you higher currency exchange rates, will give the dinar contract rate, and can redeem ZIM bonds. Banks cannot. On that Fry. 21 AUG. 2026 banks will begin exchanging for the general public. Wells Fargo is in charge of redemption centers for the U.S. HSBC and Scotiabank are available in Canada. The new U.S. Treasury note will be available in cash at the redemption center. If you are a ZIM holder and you have a dire health need, the final countdown, QFS activation NEARS. The quantum financial system is no longer a theory or a distant possibility. It is imminent. The final phase of integration is underway, with global infrastructure shifting to accommodate the most advanced financial architecture ever conceived. Nations are quietly aligning their systems, preparing for the complete and irreversible transition to a gold-backed, transparent economy. Debt slavery ends. Central banks, once the lifeblood of the cabal's control, are being phased out. Trillions in fraudulent debt, created through deception, will be wiped clean. Governments will no longer be able to enslave their people through perpetual borrowing. No more market manipulation. Stock markets, forex, and commodities have long been manipulated by elite financial institutions. With QFS, every transaction is monitored in real time, ensuring fair valuation based on true supply and demand. The age of artificial crashes and economic blackmail is over. Instantaneous settlements, the days of slow, manipulated banking transfers are gone. With quantum processing speeds, transactions will settle instantly. No intermediaries, no hidden fees, no delays. The people will finally have control over their own wealth. The collapse of the fiat system is UNDRWAY. Look around. The signs are everywhere. Banks are shutting down. Major financial institutions are restructuring. Nations are hoarding gold. The old system is imploding under its own corruption. Governments and elite players are scrambling, but there is no escape. QFS has already accounted for every last piece of hidden wealth, and when the final switch is flipped, their ill-gotten gains will be worthless. The Great Awakening and global economic freedom. The world is about to experience the greatest financial reset in human history, but only those who are prepared will thrive. The coming weeks will be intense. Banking collapses, arrests, and sudden economic shifts will shake the unawakened masses. But for those who understand what is happening, this is the dawn of a new era. Watch for public announcements. The transition will not be hidden much longer. Official disclosures will confirm the QFS activation, marking the true beginning of the wealth redistribution process. Stay out of fear. The chaos you see is the necessary destruction of a broken system. Trust the process. Prepare for prosperity. Those aligned with the new system will witness abundance like never before. Financial oppression is ending, and the future of sovereign wealth is here. The quantum financial system, QFS, has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire. The QFS has replaced the SWIFT system with an unhackable, AI-driven network supported by the secret space program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. Thurs, 30 July 2026 ISO 20022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. 20022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. Under MT, a message might say only, funds transferred details on file. Under ISO 20022, the same transaction must specify exact source of funds, exact economic purpose, exact ownership structure, exact intermediary chain, exact fees, spreads, FX rates, exact regulatory category, exact counterparty information, machine readable, machine auditable, right arrow, machine reconcilable. The opacity dies, not because ISO 20022 accuses anyone, but because everything is finally described in forensic detail. This is the transparency upgrade. This blows open hidden flows, skimming, off-ledger pools, errors, mismatches, misallocated collateral, etc. Banks, correspondent networks, FX desks, and clearinghouses have relied for decades on. Omnibus accounts, blended fee buckets, net settlement, smoothing, miscoded purpose fields, internal suspense accounts, delayed reconciliation. ISO 20022 wipes out the shadows where these techniques lived. Not by accusation, but by precision. The post-cutover world becomes deterministic, not probabilistic under MT. Trust us, it balances. Under ISO 20022, prove it. Every field, every hop, every custodian, every fee, every spread, every timestamp. This is an audit-grade digital paper trail. The only ones who fear this level of illumination are those who depend.
This is all a massive psyop. And yes, technically, they're telling you the truth. But these tens of thousands of people crossing over into Spain have actually crossed over into an enclave of Spain in Africa called Ceuta. This is all done as a psyop. They haven't actually come into the mainland of Spain as yet. Although, if the psyop doesn't work, I'm sure they'll put them on the next boat. This is all supposed to wake you up so that you can see what's going on. This is all a movie. This is all a pantomime. I've told you, and I've told you, and I've told you. The sooner people wake up to the pantomime, the movie, what's going on, the quicker we can get through it. But this has to be done to wake up the masses. What's happening in South Korea with the collapse of the stock market? This is a trigger that will cause a knock-on effect of huge scale. The same with Japan selling all of their bonds and their stocks, US bonds, US stocks. This is all part of the collapsing of the old United States hegemony, the system. And Donald Trump is at the heart of collapsing the old US, the United States of America corporation. The one that was the United Kingdom, or the City of London, not the United Kingdom, the City of London had total control over, but no longer. This is all being dismantled in plain sight. And it's very interesting when you listen to what's going on here in the Middle East. The blockade of the Straits of Hormuz, which stops American shipping from going through whilst everyone else does, actually hurts America more than anybody. And the United States of America Corporation thought it would hurt China. They'd just forgotten one thing. China has become far less dependent on oil than America. China, many years ago, moved across to electronics, electric cars. 60% of the cars in China run on electric, not on solid fuel, as in petroleum, gasoline, diesel. So the United States of America have actually gone into this without knowing the damage that they've done to the US, they've done to themselves. But this is all part of the plan to dismantle the old United States of America corporation. But what will happen is there will be the birth of America. not the United States, America, 37 countries coming together in prosperity, and that includes Cuba and Venezuela and Mexico and Canada, and the list goes on.
The global election rigging machine just got exposed. And it started with a bet. Mr. Poole on Telegram, the mainstream media is trying to contain the damage. They are calling it a UK Conservative Party betting scandal. They want you to believe that a few British politicians simply used inside information to win money on election dates. They are lying. This is not about gambling. This is about global election manipulation. Here are the facts they cannot suppress. Multiple high-ranking officials are under active investigation by gambling regulators. The chief data officer of the ruling party has been forced to step down. Millions of dollars are moving through offshore accounts. The investigation is expanding daily, pulling in more politicians who thought they were untouchable. But here is the terrifying truth that military intelligence has uncovered. These betting markets are not casinos. They are the new deep state mechanism for laundering money to fund election interference worldwide. The alliance has tracked the financial flows. The £5 million gifts from foreign billionaires, the offshore accounts, the synchronized betting patterns. It is all a sophisticated cover to move untraceable funds to operatives who rig elections, suppress truth, and maintain the deep state's grip on power. What is happening in the UK right now is exactly what they have been doing in the United States. The same players, the same offshore accounts, the same manipulation. But Donald Trump and his military intelligence team have been watching. They allowed the deep state to use these markets because it created a digital paper trail. Every transaction was recorded. Every politician who took the bait is now trapped in the net. The panic in London is mirroring the panic in Washington, D.C. The globalist elite realize their entire financial mechanism for controlling elections has been exposed. The UK scandal is just the first domino to fall. When Trump returns, the full scope of this international money laundering operation will be declassified. The globalist politicians who sold out their countries will face military tribunals. The evidence is overwhelming, and the traps have already been sprung. Code: Election market-rigging global LAUNDRNG nexus / UK domino falling / the trap is sprung. The stage is being set. The Great Awakening is not just American, it is global. A NASA senior engineer just escaped to Switzerland. He worked on the BLACKTAIL project for 11 years. He just leaked the FILES. He made contact with our secure server 24 hours ago. His security clearance and employment records have been fully verified. He worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and a classified underground facility in Nevada from 2013 to 2025, on a propulsion system that the public is told is physically impossible. He calls it Project Etha. His exact words, unedited. In 2018, we didn't just receive a signal from deep space. We decoded a blueprint, a complete geometric formula for reactionless zero-point energy and sublight propulsion. The first time I saw it tested in the Nevada desert, the test vehicle, a disc 30 meters wide, lifted off the ground without sound, without heat exhaust, and without burning a single drop of fuel. It reached Mars orbit in 3 hours. Not months, not years, 3 hours. I watched instruments lock onto the Martian atmosphere while eating my morning coffee in the observation bunker. We had humanity stepping onto another planet a decade ago. I asked the program director, when do we announce this to the public? Energy crises would end tomorrow. He laughed and said, Kid, the global economy runs on oil and debt. If free energy drops, the power structure collapses before nightfall. In 11 years, I cataloged 44 unmanned probes sent to the outer solar system using ETHA drives 12 crewed orbital flights, establishing deep space infrastructure, 0 carbon emissions, 0 fuel costs, 100% limitless clean, power the total suppression of 19 independent inventor patents globally. The worst part wasn't the secrecy. It was watching the news. I would leave a facility where we were mapping out mining operations on the moons of Jupiter and drive home past gas stations charging $5 a gallon, watching families choose between groceries and heating their homes. I would see governments arguing over carbon taxes and climate crises, and I knew we had solved energy forever, locked behind 3-inch steel doors 500 feet beneath the desert sand. Why he fled. Last month, they approved the commercialization of the technology, but exclusively for private orbital defense stations controlled by 3 megacorporations. The public was scheduled to get a carbon tax increase in the same fiscal quarter. They were going to tax people for the air they breathe while using free space drive tech for corporate expansion. I copied 40 gigabytes of schematics onto an encrypted drive, walked out of the gate, and didn't stop driving until I crossed the border. Why he's RELESNG it now? I am not hiding anymore. They can label me a traitor, but the real treason is keeping humanity chained to the Stone Age while the stars are already within our reach. I have telemetry data. I have financial trails linking defense contractors to the suppression orders. I have the names of every official who signed off on the blackout. The technology belongs to humanity, not to a board of directors. His final message: to every person struggling with an energy bill this winter, you were lied to. The universe is overflowing with infinite power. They kept it from you to keep you dependent. To the engineers and scientists still inside, you know the math, you know it works. Walk out before it's too late. To the agency, you can lock my lab, but you can't unleak the Gitmo GROWS as GSARA activation, SDRTS. Trump's military TRIBUNLS are in full swing. Airline CEO TSDM1IS revealed deep state flight RUTES, and Fiat collapse is imminent, is growing under the direct control of the U.S. Marines, who work for President Donald J. Trump, the real commander-in-chief in 2025. The lies of the fake government are falling apart. The storm is tearing through elite networks behind the scenes. There are no more ways out, found hiding places. In the biggest takedown in history, evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. These aren't upgrades, they're expansions of war prisons. New blocks with a lot of security. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. An insider leak confirms that several airline CEOs are giving testimony while being protected. They didn't just run airlines, they also ran secret trafficking routes with private jets, hidden cargo, fake manifests, and secret terminals. Kids, black budget tech, and stolen goods are all up in the air, out of sight of the public. Their encrypted flight logs back up what the whistleblower said. A lot of them lead to black sites in the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Trump never lost power. He set off the military chain of command in 2021 with secret orders that are now being carried out with exact precision. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network are getting information from these testimonies. They are meant to destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. GSARA is no longer coming. It's already happening. More than 85% of countries have joined the quantum financial grid. People in test areas are getting quantum access cards. The wealth that has been stolen for hundreds of years will be given back to we the people. Control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking. Attacked hangars. Crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. This isn't politics.
To that. Now, at this moment, it's about closing ranks. You may disagree and still be a good guy whether or not we should pause the election this fall. But at the end of the day, it's not everybody's, it's not up for discussion at some level. The decision, I would contend, has already been made. And in order to protect the republic, there isn't any way to fix the election system before November 3rd this year. Why? Because it's already fixed. You already have candidates on the ballot through fraudulent primaries, fraudulent votes in the primaries because you didn't clean the voter rolls and you didn't fix the election systems, machines, etc. So now you have, if you did go proceed forward with the vote, you would have a fraudulent election no matter what at this point this year on November 3rd. And you have states like California trying to bring in other allied states to go forward no matter what Trump does within a commander-in-chief role. So there is going to be civil unrest, and there is going to be stuff at the state
At what
level
level?
to challenge
What do you
Trump's
think?
authority.
How much civil unrest? How many threats have we neutralized, Juanito? Have we neutralized what, 60%, 70, 80%? How many of the threats have we neutralized? I mean, what are they willing to do? What are they capable of
I
doing?
don't know if I could. I don't know if I could quantify that precisely because there's different levels of threat. You know, we even within what the president is doing, buying time over this last 5 years through a prior election, another midterm, the presidential election, 2024. How do you gauge the magnitude of each individual threat? The country falling into civil war or nuclear devices? Remember, the lead up to the 2024 election, we had everything that could fly out searching for any hidden signatures of nukes loose in America, as well as other places. We still haven't located all of those missing nukes. And in fact, there's still a threat, Iran. The whole thing with, right now, Alex Jones is saying Trump's getting ready to send troops into Iran that were getting ready to reinstitute the draft system, and we're going to send troops, whether they like it or not, into Iran. It's actually a bullshit statement, and all we're doing is re-implementing a ability to sign up for a draft if it was necessary, and those processes are continuing into the fall. It's a national security issue, but doesn't say we're sending anybody into Iran or would even need to or want to. We don't want to put troops in the ground. He's shutting down wars, not starting them up. And if you have to bring them to a head and get it over with, that's on the course of shutting it down and dismantling Iran internally from a militarized standpoint. In fact, the one thing going to the nuke stuff, what Trump is really doing there, in part, he's looking for who's going to get in control in Iran that's going to agree to give us all of the yellow cake, all of the, as he likes to refer to it, nuclear dust, the highly refined material from which you make enriched uranium material useful for a bomb. He wants all that back, as he states it, back. What do you mean back? Did we have it ever in the first place? Yeah. A lot of that stuff that came from uranium-1 sales that went to Russia and then went to Iran. And we want it back. It was done under frauds by the Clintons and the Obamas. We want it back so they can't make a nuclear bomb out of that material. And until we get a regime that's willing to give it back to us, there won't be any peace. And we're not in any rush to have peace out of Iran and then have the oil flowing again to disrupt oil supplies, providing it into China and other things. So as long as they're not willing to work with us, then, let them just sit. And that is to the benefit of the Iranian people. We're trying very meticulously to keep civilian deaths to the absolute barest minimum, no matter what anybody's telling you. From our side, it is a war zone, and there's a lot of drama there. Nothing's perfect in war. And then as far as selling out to Israel, that's the complete charade. Falsehood.
What do you think about that? Benjamin Netanyahu being here, he was berating Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio publicly, it looked like, in a video. He looks very angry.
It didn't just look like it. It was a fact. He was berating him. Yeah.
So, yeah, what was that about? He looks pissed. And I told my audience today on Ringside with Nino, well, there's a reason he's mad.
Yeah.
He's pissed because we're not playing ball.
Yeah. Trump is, again, a lot of the problems in the world, people want to say it's a Jew problem. It's an Israel problem. I would contend that is a misstatement. It is a globalista problem, and they use the shield of different factions and groups, Hezbollah, Iran, China even. China is not run internally. China is run by the banks out of the city of London. China is just a branch office. Hong Kong, just a branch office for the banks out of the city of London, where the Queen has to curtsy and bow before the mayor. The King has to curtsy and bow before the mayor of the city of London once a year. to show who's really in charge. What, the King of England, the Queen of England has to bow to the mayor of the City of London? You bet your fat ass. What's going on here? The banks are running this stuff, including China. We're fighting a group that's different than most people even understand. It's an illusion. You're seeing a mirage of power, and who's the real powers behind the thrones. That's what Trump's really fighting. When he cut off the oil flow out of Iran and the money and the troll tax for every tanker going through the Gulf was going to the City of London. That's what he cut off. He cut off the money supply, USAID to be used by SES and Serco. Serco being the British Commonwealth version of senior executive service here in America, doing that same stuff worldwide. We're cutting off the money flow to these places around the world. Trump is damaging and has been damaging, and the generals behind Trump have been damaging the cash flow and the arms flow to the people who want to have continuous wars all across the planet. And we're getting closer and closer by the hour to now coming home as we quiet things around the world to having this internal fight to recapture control of the helm of the ship of state of America from these pirates, these globalista who have hijacked control of the ship of state of America. And Trump's leading that charge with the generals behind him. It's a gruesome thing, but you don't have to wait very long. You'll be able to see pretty shortly, is Trump right or is Corsi right? Is Trump on the saving path, or is Alex Jones the one that knows more about what's going on? Who will be proven true in this? And your audience has been given great service by you, Nino, in at least allowing the other people to state their case and look at it. And now time will be the test, and we don't have long to wait. It's not years now to find out where this is going. You'll know in a matter of months where this is going.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via AGCR update compiled by Judy Byington. Global currency reset. Currency exchanges to begin by Friday the 31st, 2026. With financial gain as a priority, the AMA, Big Pharma, WHO, CDC, and FDA for 80 years have worked together to carry out a worldwide genocide by pushing drugs while banning body regeneration depopulation agenda 2030. And this is a quote from George Orwell. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Another quote from President Donald Trump. Jill Biden insisted Joe would have beat me in 2024. She felt he was going to win because he was seriously ahead in the deceased voters category. Well, we thought we knew, but didn't really know, and now we're supposed to know, but don't have a clue. Wednesday, July 29, 2026, Trump has secretly used Swiss intermediaries to negotiate directly with Tehran. Iran has secretly agreed to completely dismantle its nuclear program. In exchange, the U.S. blockade is lifting, but on Trump's terms. The U.S. will control the strait, and the deal includes $500 billion in seized deep state assets that are being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. Wednesday, July 29th, largest healthcare fraud in U.S. history, Operation Gold Rush, exposes $14.6 billion medical scam. On September 11, 2001, 2 planes hit 2 World Trade Center buildings in New York, but 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed, and with it, some of the most high-profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA, Mossad, ISIS. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods, CIA, Mossad, ISIS is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish, control, and starve you via their Great Reset, New World Order. The USAID files will expose every NGO, front company, donor, associate, and individual against President Trump and the American people themselves. USAID has been a U.S. taxpayer money laundering front for the financing of deep state rogue agency operations. and CIA-sponsored regime changes across the world. Even though a court order has been issued ordering access for the Trump administration, the Department of Justice has still been denied access to the encrypted codes of the USAID files. Wednesday, July 29, $27 billion in Obamacare fraud exposed. Fake identities, stolen social security numbers, dead people getting subsidies, and 160,000 legitimate accounts hacked and altered. House Republicans say weak Biden-Harris safeguards enabled the massive theft. Trump administration is now removing millions of fraudulent enrollments. This is what happens when they dismantle anti-fraud protections. Wednesday, July 29th, the Quantum Financial System release will create a self-deportation of at least 20 million because in order to collect money sitting in their QFS wallet, they have to be a citizen of the country. That means car and housing markets will crash. Service industries will close, among others. There will be an apartment glut and schools will close. So that's what I've always been told, is that will cause the people that are here illegally to run to their country of origin, because they won't have any money. They won't be able to even use the system.
Global currency reset. Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2026. Nasara Gassara connected on Telegram. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation. It's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2026. Mark Z. Looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters headed to Reno tomorrow, Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026. Our military intel contacts said they released everything at 3 p.m. PDT on Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026, to start the shotgun release of liquidity and notifications over next 72 hours. To fry, the 31st of July, 2026, for the lower levels tiers, including Tier 4B. Tuesday, within the next 72 hours to fry, the 31st of July, 2026, Tier 4 Internet. Group and ZIM bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026, Bruce. The big call 866. Redemption Center leaders have been told to go into the Redemption Center before noon on Thursday, the 21st of August, 2026. They are to continue to work, including Sundays, for the next 21 days for redemption of ZIM and exchange of currencies. Some sources say Tier 4B can start appointments by Friday, the 31st of July, or perhaps even by Thursday afternoon, the 30th of July, 2026. Paymaster accounts will be liquid on Friday, the 31st of July, and bondholders can have their accounts liquid on Saturday, the 1st of August, 2026. The banks will be able to exchange currencies for the general public on Thursday, the 21st of August, 2026. There will be 51 currencies that will exchange to a new rate, higher or lower.
Wednesday, July 29th, the quantum financial system has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire, the QFS will replace the SWIFT system with an unhackable AI-driven network supported by the Secret Space Program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. The Federal Reserve is losing control. The SWIFT system is failing. This is not an accident. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. In spring 2023, Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and First Republic Bank collapsed in rapid succession. The mainstream media blamed poor management. They lied. It was a controlled demolition of the old banking system. The Federal Reserve knew it was coming. They let it happen. Since then, the banking system has been in a state of controlled chaos. The SWIFT system, the backbone of global finance, has been experiencing cascading failures. ISO 20022 implementation is forcing a complete restructuring of cross-border payments. Banks are scrambling. The system is breaking down from the inside. Meanwhile, the global financial crisis is accelerating. Europe's financial system is under extreme stress. The dollar is weakening. Inflation is destroying purchasing power. The debt crisis is becoming impossible to hide. This is exactly what the alliance planned. Military intelligence and Trump's team have been quietly preparing the quantum financial system, a blockchain-based, asset-backed alternative to the Federal Reserve's fiat currency slavery. While the old system collapses, the new one is being installed in the shadows. The recent banking failures were not random. They were strategic removals of institutions that were too corrupt to save. The Federal Reserve is being systematically dismantled. The IRS infrastructure is being quietly shut down. The wealth stolen from the American people over 80 years is being tracked and will be returned. When Trump returns to full power, the switch will be flipped. The QFS will go live. The Federal Reserve will be abolished. The IRS will cease to exist. Asset-backed currency will replace fiat slavery. This is why they are panicking. The banking elites know their time is ending. They are trying to crash the economy to blame it on Trump. But the alliance is already catching the fall. Every bank failure, every market crash, every economic indicator is part of the plan to transition humanity from financial slavery to financial freedom. Code, SWIFT collapse. Federal Reserve fall, QFS incoming, asset-backed currency, financial freedom. You are witnessing the greatest wealth transfer in human history. The old guard is terrified because they cannot stop what is coming. Their old weapon was your ignorance. That weapon is now useless.
Blackout warning. Tier 4, it has begun. Now the 10 days of darkness are in effect. The prophecy that was whispered is happening right now. The world's communication networks are shutting down one after the other. Broadcast towers are silent, media anchors are disappearing in the middle of sentences, and major networks are offline. The controlled blackout phase has begun for the entire world. On several continents, emergency broadcast systems are ready. Global communication is now entirely under Starlink's control. Quantum encryption filters every signal, every transmission, and every frequency. For the first time in contemporary history, the people, not the puppets, control the information flow. It's not chaos. This is a correction. The blackout serves as a barrier between reality and deceit. The QFS and military alliance are carrying out coordinated takedowns of data centers, banks, and political networks connected to the previous regime while the surface goes dark. Every operation is absolute, silent, and clean. Be prepared for quiet. Be prepared for confusion. Be prepared for incredulity. Your devices may become motionless, channels may freeze, and power grids may flicker. The truth is being prepared for release behind that silence. The world will see an uncensored broadcast that reveals what has been concealed for generations once the system stabilizes. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. The light has never gone out. It is merely removing the mist that caused humanity to become blind. Those who maintain their composure, awareness, and composure will lead the others through what lies ahead. The blackout does not mean the end. It's the purification. It's the time when history starts over. Nothing will be the same when the screens come back to life. Tonight marks the end of the age of deceit. Silence is the first step toward the age of truth. While you can, spread the word about this. Your composure will turn into someone else's strength when the signal wanes.
What we think we know as of Thurs. 30 July 2026. WED 29 July 2026. BREAKING Special Report. State Department bombshell. The real target was never capitalism. How the globalist trap was laid and the American system fightback begins.
It's Thursday, the 30th of July 2026. When I was a young man growing up and things were that obvious, and I couldn't see it. My father referred to me as a thicko. When something is that obvious and you can't see it. What happened yesterday with Dr. Fauci was put out there to wake up the thickos. Number one, it looked nothing like the real, original Fauci, who was removed some time back. But the actor playing Fauci was there for all to see. And I'm amazed at the amount of people who thought, oh yeah, that's Dr. Fauci's on trial at last. He's been dealt with a long time ago, but the movie's playing out. But first of all, it looks nothing like him. Second of all, to sit there with the complete disdain for the American system and the people and refuse to answer questions, pleading the fifth, when he was already pardoned by Biden with an auto pen. You can't make this stuff up. You're watching a movie. My audience are awake. For those who are watching this for the first time and you're not awake, the clues are all there. But I would remind you, if you can't see it now, you're a thicko. And I'm telling you because I used to be a thicko. So I know what I'm talking about. When something is that obvious, it's in your face, and you can't see it, there's something wrong. Everything that happened yesterday was set up for the movie. It was set up to wake up the thickos. For those people who are wide awake, we sit there and smile at the absolute arrogance of the man, the way he went about things, the way he was questioned. This was all done as part of the awakening process. And I said 2-3 years ago that it's going to get funnier and funnier and funnier for those people who just can't see it. Yesterday, it was like a slap in the face for the thickos, and some of them are still thicko. But maybe yesterday it woke up a few people from being a thicko to going, hang on a second, this is crazy. My next story is all about what's happening in the Middle East, Iran, Israel. Let me just say one thing that's very, very obvious to the critical thinker. Once Israel is removed, and I mean removed, world wars cease. It's that obvious, because they're behind them all. And those people who want peace want rid of this corrupt, evil group of people who are pushing for war with everybody. Currently, pushing to remove the population of South Lebanon. You go, well, why would you want to do that? Simple. It's predominantly Christian. And these Zionists want rid of Christianity because they don't believe in Christ Jesus. They serve another God. They serve Satan. Because the God that you and I know, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, is a peaceful God, is a loving God. He doesn't steal. I said it before and I'll say it again. When you start going down the rabbit holes, every rabbit hole you go down, the T becomes more silent. For those people who haven't worked it out, there's a rabbi at the bottom of every one. And that tells you an awful lot.
The media is in panic mode today. For the last 13 nights, the mainstream media told you we were heading into World War III. They reported that U.S. forces were striking Iran daily. They reported that President Trump was threatening a massive attack and had 1,000 missiles locked and loaded. On Telegram, https://t, me/107tg what happened yesterday. The bombings suddenly stopped. U.S. Central Command made 0 announcements of new strikes on Friday. The media is confused. They don't know why. I will tell you why. President Trump just pulled off the greatest geopolitical checkmate in modern history, and the deep state is terrified you will find out. While the media was screaming about war, Trump was secretly using Swiss intermediaries to negotiate directly with Tehran. He didn't just stop a war, he broke the military-industrial complex. Here is what is actually happening behind closed doors right now. Iran has secretly agreed to completely dismantle its nuclear program. In exchange, the U.S. blockade is lifting, but on Trump's terms. But here is the part that will break the internet. The deal includes $500 billion in seized deep state assets that are being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. Why do you think Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi was urgently meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov at the SCO summit in Kyrgyzstan yesterday? They were finalizing the framework of a new global financial agreement that completely bypasses the corrupt central banking system. The military-industrial complex is furious. They wanted endless war to fund their black budgets. Yesterday afternoon, military intelligence intercepted communications from 3 top Pentagon generals attempting to sabotage the peace talks. They were arrested at 03:00 a.m. this morning. President Trump is preparing to address the nation within the next 72 hours to announce this historic victory. When he does, global oil prices will plummet, the stock market will explode, and the deep state's primary funding mechanism, endless war, will be permanently severed. They wanted a war to stop him. He used their war to bankrupt them. The game is over. Share this everywhere before they take it down. The Starlink direct-to-cell constellation has assumed absolute priority over classical ISP routing. The legacy broadcast networks, historically utilized to maintain human cognitive suppression through targeted ELF, extremely low frequency, waves, are experiencing permanent signal attenuation. The planetary transition is now executing at full bandwidth. Quantum energy distribution, free energy resonance nodes, bioquantum medbed synchronization networks, decentralized sovereign identity, DSI, matrix, uncensored quantum mesh satellite, web the corporatone media monopoly is entering a total operational freeze. The algorithmic containment fields, once operated through big tech server hubs, have been completely overridden by Alliance military cryptographic keys. No more shadow banning. No more narrative curation. Simultaneously, over 6,000 suppressed technology patents, including cold fusion devices, scalar energy healing matrices, and anti-gravitational transport systems, are being auto-indexed into the open QFS database for immediate public deployment. The centralized energy cartels and private banking syndicates have officially lost their global clearing authorization. Their operational servers are running on empty buffers. From this moment forward, the only recognized authentication layer for planetary infrastructure is the quantum ledger secured by space-based alliance nodes. The true MOAB is executing right now. It is the instantaneous global liquidation of corporate debt, the total release of suppressed zero-point energy technologies, and the total DECLAS of all undisclosed underground projects. What is the Deep State Cabal Agenda 2030? Official Julian Assange on Telegram, it is the complete loss of our farmers. The Agenda 2030 is not the protection of the planet. It is the privatization of all natural resources. It is total control. It is dependency, submission, and totalitarianism. It is the sexualization and perversion of children. It is the creation of unjust and inhumane laws for submission and total control. It is indoctrination, loss of quality of life, of values, and idiocy. It is the loss of our sovereignty and restriction on our mobility. It is the privatization of water and destruction of dams, lakes, rivers, and reservoirs. It is the demonization of meat and the promotion of insect consumption. It is the biological and technological fusion of the human being. Transhumanism. The machine man. It is the colonization of the human brain, taking over the minds of all people to enslave them completely.
So you notice the comms, he's shaking hands with Zelensky. Zelensky was warned by Russia they were going to hit his bunker in Kiev. And they did. And Graham did not take the warning, and he was in that bunker when it got hit by an Oreshnik. You think he survived that? And then the hotel that the NATO people were staying in, where he was staying, after he supposedly survived that, was hit by another one, another attack. And he survived that to go home. Right. If you had survived as a politician those attacks, it would be mainstream media. They'd be all over it because you're protected by God and da 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 da. No, he did not survive it to get back home. He did not. Yeah, maybe his aorta was ripped in half with a lot of other things, parts of him, but it wasn't certainly in the U.S. It was in Ukraine.
A visitor near Sedona, Arizona, who wishes to remain anonymous, was filming the clouds when something unusual appeared above the red rocks. At first it looked like a faint rainbow caught inside a thin cloud, but the clouds continued moving while the strange formation remained almost perfectly still. Its position barely changed, yet its transparent body never stopped shifting. Different sections stretched, folded, dissolved, and formed again, without following any recognizable pattern. The person recording slowly zoomed in for a closer look. There were no solid edges, lights, wings, or visible structure, only an iridescent distortion that seemed to bend the sky behind it. When the camera zoomed back out, the anomaly was still hovering over the same location. Was it an unusual atmospheric phenomenon, cloud iridescence, a plasma-like object, or a distortion caused by the camera, or something we still don't understand?
Yes. So this is not what people think it is. Not all that looks beautiful is. So these are being seen. They call them the jellyfish plasmoids. They're being seen over Iran because the dome that is under Israel goes all the way to Iran and Iraq. And this can shapeshift into a reptilian. In other words, it's a fifth density Draco or an Archon. So now you know what an Archon, fifth density negative being, looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So
they come out blown up out of the domes or something?
Yes, they're working on the dumps in Iran and they're coming up.
Right.
And so the dome in Sedona is also cleaning, and so it's coming out. And so now they're asking the U.S. to use their technology. We do have technology now to deal with these things at fifth density.
We have Katie, Earth Bishop, back with us again. Katie's experience spans from shamanic wisdom, ancient alchemy, mediumship, Akashic record readings, and mystery school initiation. Her story is captured in her recently published book, Remember Your Torch. Katie, thanks for coming back on again.
Oh, thanks so much, Michael. It's great to be back. And thank you, Tracy Joe. Thanks for all that both of you do.
Oh, yeah, it's been it's exciting times. But for a lot of people, it's kind of scary. There's a lot of fear out there, and you're going to help us with some of that, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm really grateful to be on today to share some of the information that I have and kind of help alleviate some of the fear of the unknown as we're going into uncharted territory at this time. And what I really want to do too is undo some of the damage that this New Age false light movement has caused, because that's causing a lot of the fear as well, because there's so much contradiction and confusion out there because there's so much false information, and it's coming from people who are presenting themselves as spiritual leaders or contactees or whatever it may be. So I want to, clear some of that information, and hopefully this will help guide people as we navigate this uncharted territory. And as always with my information and all the classes I teach, I just like to present the information. I share what I know. I hope it helps. That's my goal always, but I'm never forcing an agenda or anything like that. This is just, you take the information and you use it as you want to use it. And I think what I'm going to do is connect some really big dots for people tonight. Because what we're seeing, or what I'm seeing at least in my practice, are some really big shifts in patterns in the people I'm working with. And this is huge because it relates to where we are as a collective in our consciousness and as we're at the end of this cycle. And this specifically has to do with the Book of Enoch, or the 3 books of Enoch is what I should say. Genesis 6, you know, that one phrase that always pulls people in. And also, if people are really interested in getting more insights into the underlying situation that's going on, the Book of Giants from the Dead Sea Scrolls is a really good read as well. So this is all connected. Believe it or not, this is also connected to the Dark Kabbalah, some of the Gnostic texts and the Apocrypha texts. And this is really kind of at the crux of the foundation of what forms the deep state cabal and the Illuminati and a lot of these dark occult secret societies. So because this is a huge, massive topic, what I want to do is first talk about the patterns I'm seeing. I'm going to bring those forward because they're really important right now. And this is a good thing. These are positive patterns that I'm seeing. The first thing I'm seeing is that
you're going to expose a lot of stuff, but you know, like you're going to speak about, you know, we're waking up to a lot of this ourselves, and having someone like yourself and me, you know, other truth seekers and speakers and so forth, we're able to see through this. You know, we've been trying to point this out for quite some time, but we just saw Anthony Fauci, you know, expose himself massively in front of the whole world. But we're seeing the same thing with a lot of other people that we looked up: Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, Sean Ryan. All these people have exposed themselves for who they really are. And, you know, I appreciate you're going into some serious depth with this, going back, you know, for eons. So good job. Thank you.
Sure. I think this is important for people to understand because, like I said, it connects a lot of dots, and we're seeing resurgence of this information come online because we are at the end of the cycle, because we are at this end of the age, and so we're going to start getting answers. And it's important for us to understand what our options are moving forward, or how to move forward. Right? What does that path look like? So one of the things I'm seeing that's been wonderful in my practice is that I'm having traditional psychotherapists send me clients because they reach a point with someone and they realize, hey, something spiritual is going on. There's something I can't put my finger on, and I need to send them to someone who's doing this kind of spiritual entity attachment release. And I think the fact that we're forming this bridge and this relationship with traditional psychotherapy and like what's really, you know, this dark medical mafia system, and they're starting to communicate with me and we're working together. I see that as a huge shift in our consciousness and a big step that we have to take forward. And the therapists that have been contacting me are all on board with this. I mean, they'll send me a client that they've been working on for years and they can't get past a certain block. And then they have one session with me and we've removed the entity. And the therapist is like, what in the world are you doing? You know, I've been working with this person for so long and we couldn't get past this. And I tell them, you know, a lot of the core issues that people are dealing with are an underlying entity attachment issue. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like. And then what I'm also seeing, and this is brand new over the last few months, and this has been really fascinating, and it really takes a lot for me to, you know, to get my attention because I've seen it all. I've been through a lot. I wrote my book about all my experiences. But what's happening is just over the last 2 months, as I start getting into sacred space with someone, their entities just start popping out and we're not even trying to do anything. It has been wild to experience and to see, and it's thrown people off. Like, oh my God, I didn't know I had this massive demonic in me. And it's just coming out. And we're not even trying to remove them. We literally just get into sacred space and they're coming out. Now, I see this as a wonderful sign because that means that our collective consciousness is rising and people are healing to the effect that all these entities need is a space to release now. because our frequency is so high and they can't hold on any longer. Now, this doesn't apply to every single session, and there's a lot of sessions where there's still a little bit of a battle and there's a lot more work to do in facing the shadow, but this is new, this new trend. And so again, I see this as a really good sign, and that actually ties into the underlying circumstances of the Book of Enoch and what's going on with that group that we call the fallen angels and the Nephilim and their children. That is directly tied to this, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But what I first want to do is maybe give a little bit of background about entities in the unseen realm that we're dealing with, because a lot of people don't know and won't understand the terminology. And I also want to take the stigma out of it, because, you know, when we start talking about entities and disembodied spirits and demonics, people get really scared because they think they're calling them in. And the truth is, you're interacting with them all the time. You just don't know it. And they don't want you to know it. That's the way they operate. We have way more disembodied spirits in this realm than we do actual physical human incarnate souls. Okay, so I'm talking billions, and there's all different kinds. They're not all demons, right? So that's why it's important to kind of understand what's going on in this unseen realm that is always there. It's just outside of our visible light spectrum. So, you know, what happens is the darkness, it thrives in ignorance, right? So when we ignore them, we're giving them power. But when we actually like shine this light of truth on what they are, then we reclaim all of our power and all of the fear goes away. So I just want to share some information on understanding how they operate, because once you understand that, you'll be able to see it. And you'll be able to see it now more than ever, again, because we're in this rising, we're coming up into this band of consciousness where you're gonna be able to almost physically see it with your 3D eyes, and a lot of people are experiencing that right now. So when I'm talking about entities or disembodied spirits, most people directly start thinking demons. And while that is true, and the traditional definition of demons are, when you really go to the text, and this is again just the traditional definition of a demon, that the group of the fallen angels that came down and mated with women, it was their children that became the Nephilim, and then those bodies of the Nephilim, when they deceased, their souls were not able to ascend or go to another stage of evolution. So they were trapped in our system as dark spirits. Now that's the traditional understanding of where the demonic realm comes from, okay? And there's a lot more to this. I'm just giving you the basic definitions. There's lots of different kinds of entities, and some can act demonic, but not actually be, a disembodied Nephilim. Okay, so that's where there's a lot of confusion with this. What I see the most are actually earthbound spirits, and these are disincarnate human souls. They're people who have passed on. It's almost like they're ghosts, and they didn't go through the false light matrix system. They didn't reincarnate, or they didn't ascend to their next stage of evolution. And so they're kind of stuck without a body on this plane, and they're looking for light. They're looking for soulful beings to attach to. And so I see a lot of that. It's very, very common for people to have an attachment that's an earthbound spirit, and they're not malevolent, but they are sucking your energy. They are influencing you, and most people have absolutely no idea that they're there. We also have things like egregores out there. I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more information coming forward about how egregores work, because they're parasitic thought forms and they can really strongly influence people. And the dark occult uses them all the time. Religions, institutions, even sports teams all have egregores. That's like your team spirit or your school spirit or whatever. So I won't get in too much detail of that, but those are out there, as well as archons and alien ET interference. And then you've got things like voice to skull and DEWs and remote frequency technology and implants and artificial telepathy. And that's like a whole different ball game. That's like a whole different animal on how you deal with that. But I want to bring all of these into the context, because all of these things are unseen. right? We can't see them, but they are all there. So the commonality that they all have.
I've never heard this description before. It's so makes so much sense that once the Nephilim came in, you would think they would leave. It's like they had their fun, but yeah, they're trapped in here. Wow, that's amazing. That's the way a lot of these demonic forces and so forth, until they're expelled, they're trapped within this consciousness. Maybe they never leave. We just rise above them, right? How does that work?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's okay. That's a brilliant question. So that's exactly what we're experiencing right now, and that's why I kind of referenced Enoch and the Book of Giants to really understand what's happening. Because when those souls came in, we all come in from outside of this realm with a certain mission or thought, or we're programmed a certain way, and they were not able to leave, and it wasn't really their choice. And they're not human souls, so they're not going to be going where we go when we ascend. It's two different paths, and they have not been allowed to leave or be removed, and it's caused so much chaos and so much suffering and so much heartache for so many people on this planet right now, because they don't understand. They know there's something wrong with them, but they can't figure it out because it's not seen. And the church and our schools, no one talks about this and no one teaches about this. And again, that just gives them more power, because they operate by deception and they operate through false light. And it's just, a smorgasbord of false light out there right now. That's mostly what you see versus truth. And the dark occult, the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati, they know how to work with these forces, okay? This is like the 72 archetypes when you start studying the Kabbalah. So they know how to call them in, they know how to summon them, they know how to get them to do things for them, they know how to manipulate people, and they know how to gain power from them. This all goes back even to, the Solomon's Temple and the building of the temple. And there's so much to this. And for people who are really interested in this, I have so many classes on my website where I go into this in more detail, because part of the problem is they've conflated all of the information and all of the characters and Satan and Lucifer and Azazel and Semyaza and the Apkallu and the fallen, and we don't even understand really the terminology that's being used, because it's not being used in the right way for what it actually means. So my point is the fact that they're popping out and they're leaving and they're moving is a wonderful sign that a way has been shown to them or paved for them to start their rehabilitation process. That's how I'm seeing this. This is how I'm intuiting that, because again, this is new and we are at the end of the age, and this would be the time when they would be leaving. That doesn't mean they're all leaving, and that doesn't mean they're all going willingly, but it is happening. I'm seeing it, I'm experiencing it, and I have so many clients that are having amazing experiences with this, lifting these things off and getting their lives back and feeling more like themselves. And it's being done in a way that it's different than it was before. Something shifted, something changed, something's been opened up for them. So that's kind of why I want to bring some of this information forward. And a lot of people wonder, well, how do they get in, or how do they attach to someone, and that's just such a really, really important point, because they can attach in all kinds of different ways. And one of them is severe trauma. Unfortunately, when you have severe trauma, the soul can leave and something else can come in and start working through the person. And then the other way, believe it or not, is our consent. And it's where we put our attention and our focus and our actions. That's all of our energetic currency. And so these things kind of weasel their way in. They know you better than you know yourself, and they'll kind of trick you into doing things that maybe you normally wouldn't do, or making decisions little by little. And before you know it, you've given your consent away to one of these entities that can control. So it's important for people to know that, Now, what's also important is to understand that the way they operate, because one of the things that we're never taught is our cosmic and natural law, which actually grants us sovereignty over our souls to protect us from entities. And we don't even know that we have this. And like I said before, they gain our permission through deception, through like hiding, acting like false light. So it's all about understanding that, you know, you are actually in control of this, and you have the ability to remove these things. And when you face them, and we go through like a redemption process of owning your actions and looking back at your, you know, where you've acted in your shadow self, I would say, that's where the power is, and that's when they get released. And when you understand the way occult language works, and you understand the law of domain, you can even see that the word demon and domain have the same structure, really. It's all about authority, it's all about domain, and this is where, you know, the authority we see going to Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, Isa, you know, whatever name people want to use for him, but he earned what is called the exousia for the authority in this realm. And that's why, you know, his presence works when you need help with shifting some of these dark spirits out. I hope, I know I'm saying a lot, but this is what's going on. And there are so many people that suffer from closet addictions, and they can't break free, and they can't break the loop. And it's because there's usually an entity attached. And once they're able to identify that and do some clearing and do some shadow work, it makes the process so much smoother. But we're in a world right now where people are just so overconsumed with addictions and food and alcohol and pornography, and people are so disassociated. Disassociation is another entry point. It's a really important entry point. When we're zoning out on social media or Netflix, you know, you're opening yourself up to that kind of programming. And all of the websites are actually domains, right? So something can attach through, you know, dark programming that you're actually watching through a screen. Wow. Yeah. And self-sabotage is another, you know, symptom of this. People who are always really almost like their own worst enemy. There's usually, it's not them, it's not their true self that's doing that to them. You know, it's something else outside of them. And what I'm seeing really,
it's like you froze up a little bit, Katie.
and I think you cut out. Am I still there?
You're back now. Yeah, you were out a little. Yeah.
Okay.
This is very relevant subject matter, and it seems to be, once we hit on subjects like this, there's a little bit of interference. But yeah, you're good now. Thanks. And what you're sharing is just phenomenal. I mean, your view of the bigger picture and being able to bring it in so it's understandable is, I've never seen anybody, you know, explain it like you are right now. It's very, very good. Good job. Wow.
Thanks. I'm doing my best, and I think it's really important for us to understand the bigger picture, because that takes away the fear of the unknown. When you understand the bigger picture, you can kind of like reverse engineer the situation and see what is really happening. And one of the things I was about to say with the pride and the ego, and that, you know, spiritual community or galactic community, or I don't know whatever you want to call it. But people are, you know, saying, oh, I was so-and-so in a past life, and I was so wonderful. And you've got a lot of these like BS New Agers reading Akashic records and saying, oh, you know, you were Alexander the Great or Isis or whatever it may be. And you know what? That is causing a lot of problems and a lot of false light. And it's creating these weird false identities for people. And, you know, the real way to use the Akashic records, first of all, there's a false set of Akashic records that are totally digital, and they're designed to feed the ego.
No kidding. Wow.
Yes. And that's what most of these false light
You would think
people.
that would be completely sacrosanct, and there's no way that that could be compromised. But it makes sense. Of course, it would be.
Of course. I want people to understand, you hold everything within your soul. Your soul is the library of all your experiences. And so when I go into a reading for someone, I'm not looking for the past lives where they were so amazing. I'm doing the opposite. I'm looking for the lives where they had the most trauma, or they had a lifetime where they actually weren't a very good person, because those are the lifetimes we need to look at, because if they were unhealed, those patterns will play out in your life today. So that's, the catalyst. That's how we orchestrate change to happen. That's how we go through this alchemical process of the soul. It's actually looking at the really, really difficult lifetimes that you've had, and some of the challenges that you've been through, and maybe some of the dark side that you may have played in past lives, to use those to see in your life now these patterns and how they're repeating themselves, and then stop that karma, rise above it. So really that's the way to use them, not to inflate the ego, not to be bragging about who you were in past lives. And a lot of this V2K technology is doing that to people. It's not all negative stuff they're beaming into people. They're inflating people's egos and making them think they're like a contactee or something like that, or they've got like this big galactic role to play. And a lot of it is just the CIA. And I know you know that, but I want to make sure your audience knows that as well. It's very, very sophisticated remote frequency technology that's being used out there. As well as implants that are being used, and they create all kinds of confusion for people. And I write a lot about that in my book, and what to look for in the signs, and how to compare and contrast, a positive experience or what might be a false light experience. One of the things with, when I was talking earlier about these patterns and working with traditional therapists and psychotherapists, is when you have something on you, even if it's not a demonic, it could be just an earthbound, you're going to feel things like depression and anxiety and strange impulses, and you might feel constantly drained, or you might have brain fog, or you might feel really blocked, or you might feel like you're like watching your life in third person, like you're not fully present and you can't be fully present. Or you might feel like you have some kind of impulse or uncontrollable addiction and you just can't get a hold of it. It's like something takes you over. I see a lot of people have that with like binge eating at night, and they're just like, I don't know why, but I have to eat at night and I can't control it. And usually there's an earthbound spirit there, because they love to eat. They love anything that has kind of like physicality associated with it. And I see these entities acting up more at night, like more when the sun goes down. It's kind of like they really come online that much stronger. So I wanted to address that. And I also, I wanted to address something that's so near and dear to my heart with this. This is how veterans get affected. And I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be so emotional, but
It's okay.
I've dealt with some veterans that have had extreme moral trauma and extreme experimentation done on them, and they end up coming back from deployments after giving their lives, and they're in a situation where it was, and they know something jumped on them after they had to take someone out, or they know they came back with something and they weren't the same. And so not only are they coming home with all of this PTSD and a horrible VA system, and they've been experimented on, and so many of them have voiced a skull. Now they've got an entity. And I've worked with a lot of them and their families, and it's destroyed families. And it's been one of the most painful things to have to witness and know that this goes on. And so anyways, our veterans deserve so much more than this. And you know this, Michael. So if you are someone out there struggling with this, I have free sessions on my homepage There's a pro bono session at the very bottom of my homepage you can sign up for. And because it's the veterans and the victims of satanic ritual abuse that I like to try to reserve those spots for. So please just, honor that. I don't want to just give, free spots to people who can afford a session. But those are the people that need it the most, that are the most destitute, that have, just can't come back. So I want to put that out there. Like
Very
that.
generous. Thank you for that. For helping the veterans like that, because you're right. When you're overseas, you're exposed to a lot of dark stuff, and you see dark stuff, and it pulls your vibration down and makes you vulnerable to these lower consciousness vibrations that jump in and take over you. So you're right.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand it, but they know something happens. And when you combine that with the V2K and some of the experimentation that's been done in some of these programs, it's just been devastating and heartbreaking. And so I won't stay on that anymore, because it's very hard for me to even talk about. But I do have some sessions if you're someone that would like to get some help for that. And so anyways, moving on, another thing that I'm seeing that I would like to share with people about false light is a lot of practitioners out there are using what's called light language to heal people. Now, some of this is really genuine and they're coming from a good place. But I want people to really, feel into your heart if it feels right for you, because what's happening is a lot of these people are channeling stuff and they don't understand where it's coming from. They're just bringing it out. And it's important to understand that the demonic realm loves to speak in ancient tongues. They love to speak in ancient Phoenician, ancient Akkadian, and they have all these curses and spells, and sometimes they'll weave them into when people are speaking light language. And I've seen people do this, and I've had people come to me after having a session. They're like, something weird happened to me when someone spoke light language to me, and then we go and look into it, and it was a demonic entity. So I'm not saying all light language is wrong. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying there is a piece of this that people could be manipulated when they're doing this. So I would use extreme caution. I'm someone that would not accept someone speaking light language into me unless they knew what it meant and they could tell me exactly where it's coming from. So just another thing to be aware of, and I'm not trying to scare everyone. I feel like I just got really dark, and I'm not trying to do that whatsoever. I'm trying to take all the fear away.
Awareness is very important, and what there is, like you're talking about, there is light. You offer those, and this conversation can help people become aware of this stuff, because a lot of people just don't understand, and that's part of getting to the point where you can start to take down these forces that are aligned against us, is to understand who they are, and like you're talking about in the beginning, once you understand that, you empower yourself, and you stop them from coming in, and you can help others to do the same. So yeah, very, very powerful. Good.
Yeah, and that's a really big piece. I mean, part of this healing process and letting go of the shadow self and some of these, entity attachments, the strongest piece is actually pulling forward your true self, who you are as a soul, that part of you that is constant from lifetime to lifetime, that part of you that is always connected to pure source love energy, right? When you bring that forward, they can't stay in that space anymore. So that's why I see a lot of these entities almost clearing themselves as soon as we open the space. They're like ready to go because the person is ready to embody themselves. And the number one thing I hear from people after clearing is they're like, oh my God, I feel more like myself. I feel more like myself. And it's sometimes people have been walking around with a disembodied spirit for like 20 years, and it's very emotional for them. They're like, I always knew something was wrong. I always knew I had a block, but I had absolutely no idea how to fix it. Or I've been in therapy for 10 years and just going in loops, going in circles, never getting the results I want. And it's because they're never getting to the bottom or the core of the issue where there's some kind of attachment. And everyone can do this work. I'm not special. I guide people through the process. I teach the process and I hold the safe space for it to happen. But everyone needs to know that they have this power to do it as well. And I have an online workshop on my website that has like a manual with it, and it has like instructions, and it has 4 different kinds of processes that you can use. So just educating yourself on this and knowing that, you don't even have to book a session with me. You can just learn about it, read about it, and empower yourself. This doesn't take, a $500 fancy crystal ceremony with like sage and, all kinds of stuff. This is something you just do in sacred space on your own. It's a reclamation of your own soul sovereignty, and you can do this at any time. So anyways, I hope this is helping, and I know your audience is very astute and very well aware of everything going on, but I felt like because I'm seeing these patterns and I'm seeing these entities popping out, I really feel like we've reached a new level of the game, and I think what we're going to need is maybe some more people who would be interested in doing this kind of work, because there's going to be more people who are ready to start healing from trauma. And when you're dealing with people who have there are demons involved. There are definitely demons involved, and you need to understand this realm, and you need to understand it, but know how to help people. And I know there's people out there that have a calling for this, and we need more people like that who can help navigate, usher out the demonic soul of people who have been severely traumatized, and take that demonic spirit to the next stage of evolution. And so, like I said, I have a class online, I have an online workshop. If you're interested and you feel that calling within you, I really recommend that you take that class and then reach out to me, because there's more to it, and there's like another level that I want to bring forward. But we're going to need more people that know how to do this work and aren't afraid, and can hold that safe space for people to heal, and can hold that space when someone's going through healing of severe trauma. And it's not something you just kind of dip your toe into and do a little bit. You have to live a whole different lifestyle, because you will have dark forces constantly attacking you. So it's nothing to be fearful of. It's just, if this is a calling, take your time and reflect on it, and really make sure that, you're in a time in your life where you could take something like this on and really live. You just have to live the lifestyle. Otherwise, you could easily become compromised. But I can tell you, people are probably like, why in the world would you ever want to do that? But I can tell you the greatest gift of working in this field is, you get to give people their life back. And there's no amount of money or fame or fortune or material gain that is that fulfilling. There's nothing compares to that. Nothing compares to getting done with a clearing session with someone and have them look at you with tears, being like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to feel myself for all these years, and I finally do. You will never, ever feel just more soul fulfilled than being able to give that to someone. So I wanted to put that out there, because we're going to have a lot more people being ready to go through healing, and there's going to be demons coming out, and these demons are ready to go, because this, we're at the end of the age, and everyone has to go somewhere, because this false matrix system is collapsing, and we feel it and we see it, and we're experiencing it collapsing. So all of this chaos right now, while it's really awful and confusing, it's a really good sign that the dark system is going away, right? It's just not, it can't tolerate the truth that's coming out. And we've been in the age of deception for so long, and it's crumbling. It's crumbling right and left, and people can't keep up with their lies. And there's so many distractions. So please be aware of that as well, because I feel like the distractions are just as dangerous as the lies. This is what we really need to be focused on in this time frame, is the way of soul sovereignty, the path of soul sovereignty, the path of actually taking your consciousness and living through the heart space. And you know, you teach this, Michael, like always being in the vibration of love. And that can be a really hard path to walk, you know? So, but actually doing it and having the integrity to do it when other people around you aren't, or there's everything else is screaming at you to go a different direction, that's the work. That's the mission, right?
And eventually you see that that is the most powerful thing you can do. And once you understand that and recognize that, you never go back to, well, occasionally anger comes in, but you recognize that right away and go back to love. So that's a challenge. I know in your work and you know, my work is keeping people focused on love. And you know, that's going to guide you, that's going to, and you know, inspire you and so forth. But it is certainly during, like we're talking about, this change of ages, going from a dark age into a golden age, that point where the transition happens is sometimes the most violent of the entire dark age.
It really is. But you know, Michael, this is what we came here for. You know, this is what your audience came here for. We came here to be at this time to be the light, to be the truth, to show the way. And guess what? The way is really simple. We just overcomplicate it, right? The path is narrow because there's so many distractions. There's an unbelievable amount of distractions. And when you start seeing them for what they are and cutting them out in your life and really being more focused on where are the places in my life where I'm not operating from my heart space? Where am I getting triggered? Why is this bothering me? Where am I not present? This is a huge problem. We're so easily disassociated and not present in the moment, and we create from the present. You know, that's really where we are most powerful, is when we are fully embodied and fully present in everything that we're doing. So all of these simple things, they sound so, they sound too easy, but if everyone was doing these things, we wouldn't have all these problems, right? So it's reminding everyone to come back to your center, to come back to your heart space, to come back to humility. I know that sounds so basic and boring and simple, but it really is the truth. Because what we're dealing with, as I mentioned before, is this overinflation of pride and ego and false identities playing out online. And there's rewards for that online because, you know, the dark programming, you know, props up the false light, not the truther, the real truthers, right? So being aware of that and being aware of, you know, a lot of, unfortunately, what's coming through in contact with something benevolent, they're not. So discernment is just of utmost importance. A lot of these speakers out there, quite honestly, they don't really care about humanity. They care about themselves. They care about, you know, getting likes. They care about being at certain conferences. They care about all of the ego stuff. And you can see that quite clearly. And so if you see that in someone, it's a really big red flag. And it doesn't mean that all their information is false, but you might want to put like a really big filter on what you're watching and what you're allowing into your field, because we are receivers and we are always receiving information. And so being aware of that, you know, that's how the dark side works too. They put stuff into our subconscious all of the time. And then we don't know it, and we kind of are playing and working, projecting through the subconscious, and we don't even know that we're perpetuating, you know, our own reality system. And I will tell you that the demonic realm absolutely uses the subconscious as a tool to get into our system. They absolutely use it. And our subconscious is nothing to be ashamed of or to judge. It was actually created to be an efficiency processing system, because we're always, you know, processing, you know, over 40 million bits of data every second. So we need a subconscious to process information. But what happens is over time, the dark side will put dark things and dark programming into our subconscious, and then we think it's a part of us, and it's not. So part of this whole human experience, believe it or not, is experiencing that what you are not to understand who you are. It's seeing the contrast. And that's when you do the shadow work and you say, oh my gosh, I was acting out of jealousy when I did this, or I was acting out of my pride or my ego. And now I see that that is not me. That was something that I chose to allow work through me. And I feel so much better now letting that go. So going into shadow work and looking at, the dark side without judgment, and actually doing it from a place of, I respect myself, and I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. So I'm going to look at these things that no longer serve me, and I'm going to let them go, and I'm going to admit to them, and I'm going to go through that process of redemption. That is the simple way. It's very simple.
That's one of the things when I stopped looking at the dark side and the dark entities as a threat, as evil. I just saw them for what they were, and from that point on, everything completely changed for me. There's been times where I've I wouldn't say confront, but I've looked at entities and they've taken a knee to me. It's like, wow, that was, I'm sure they're kind of like the same with you, because you're so bishop, you're a guardian, so that's your name. And they recognize you for the power that you have, and that's one of the things I believe is probably why you're so successful with helping people rid themselves of dark entities, because the entities recognize your power, and it's a lot easier for you to detach them from a beautiful soul that's trying to break free. And that's why they see you, these souls on some level, even though the dark side is trying to shadow them and control them, but they see you, and they approach your work as helping so many people, and now you're helping people become like you, which is, like you said, very, very important during this transition phase and for humanity.
Yeah. Thank you. It is a wild, interesting life to be working in this realm all of the time, and seeing things the way I do. And people probably are wondering, well, do you see them? And yes, I do. And I see them. I can explain how I see them, because I don't know anyone else that sees them the way I do. But actually, when I was really, really little, I could see dark spirits working through people, and people's faces would shift, and I could see the energy exchange happening, and it was terrifying, and it was awful. And I was a very frightened, shy child. Now that ended up kind of evaporating and going away. I think just, growing up and being indoctrinated, and, you kind of lose those abilities or that sight. And then it didn't come back online again until I had that walk-in experience in 2011. And then I started seeing again, more in the astral plane. And so the way that the entities look to me is different based on what they are. So like when I'm looking at someone that has an earthbound spirit, that looks to me like a holographic overlay of someone. So I could be talking to a woman, and it will look like there's a man with a beard, translucent, over her. And I'll know, okay, there's an earthbound, and this is where he's coming from. Now, with demonics, they look differently. They really hide. The only way I see them pop out of people is when someone's talking and they actually will speak about what the demonic is attached to. There's like a moment in time where it looks like time freezes, and I can see the entity almost pop out and then pop back in. And I know that sounds really weird, but it really helps me when I'm working with people to be like, boom, all right, got it. That's what it's attached to. That's what it is. And I'll have a better idea on what kind of protocols we need to do to clear it. So I know that probably sounds really weird, but that's how I see them, and that's how I experience them. And another thing with working in this realm, and I was talking about the law of dominion before, one of the things with these technologies and the voice to skull that is so hard to free people from is the fact that it doesn't apply to the law of dominion. So this is human technology targeting another human, right? So there's no law of dominion. And so I can't do anything about that. All I can do is help the person, navigate through it and change their lifestyle. I would rather face off with a giant Nephilim demon, because they will abide by the law of dominion. They know the laws, and they know I know the laws. And so, that is much easier for me, believe it or not. I know that sounds crazy. I'd rather deal with that than the technology piece. I can't really do anything about that, because it's another human, and it's violating all the free will laws. And I don't know what the solution is. I would think that because there's these frequencies that are impacting people in a negative way, there's got to be a reversal. And I don't know how we get that going, but so many people are suffering, and children are being attacked by this as well. So there's got to be a push for this to get changed, because this is part of the overarching mind control system that affects everyone to some degree or another, right? And I do see some of this information coming more and more forward to the forefront, and people talking about their experiences, and people who shared their stories with Voice to Skull previously were called nutcases, and they weren't believed. But now it's like, but there are things that you can do to make your life easier, but it's very, very frustrating. It's been very debilitating for very many people. And like I said, there's got to be a reversal. There's got to be something done where we can start at least reversing this, or putting frequencies out there to intercept it or something. I mean, we have to have that technology. It has to exist. Maybe you know more about that, or maybe you can't say.
Yeah, I've had an experience with that. I think, from my own experience, just, because I do the love frequency, love vibration. I did that a lot and overseas. And I talk about how I was on the Pacific Crest Trail, and a helicopter came and did a heart attack machine on me, and it didn't work. I felt the pain. I felt my heart seizing, but I was able to resist, and it did it over and over again. So that's a technology thing that's being resisted through your inner connection with source, love. And that's what protected me and kept me alive, where most people don't survive that.
Yeah, you're right. It is, again, like, it's bringing that forward. They are so weak within themselves that it's really hard for them to pull that forward. So anyways, I do see this being a really big issue, because a lot of people are controlled by it and they don't know it either. Now, Mind Nexus is a good source for this, because they also work with what's going on with the implant technology. A lot of people have implants, and maybe again, this can affects like this galactic influencer community as well, because many people have implants and they think they're talking to an angel or an ET or something, and they're talking to the CIA, or they're talking to a 3-letter agency, or even like a subcontractor, because the government agencies uses mostly private companies and subcontractors to do all the work, so it can't be really tracked or traced. So they don't even know who they're talking to, and of course the voice or the implant is acting like benevolent and maybe sharing lots of information, but it's a total manipulation, unfortunately. So so that implant technology is affecting a lot of people as well. I had so many other things I wanted to share, and I'm sorry. I feel like I was kind of wandering all over the place. Hopefully,
no, it's great. You came in with a huge plate of food. So we're trying to eat as much as we can, but there's a lot to share. And but I mean, I'm taking little bites of everything, so it's good. It's delicious. So keep going.
Okay, good. Well, one of the things that I would like to put out there as part of like, well, what do we do? What do we focus on? How do we get out of, all of this enslavement that we've been in, and how do we walk this path to soul sovereignty? And it always starts with yourself. It always starts with yourself. You've got to learn what do you need to do for yourself to find that inner peace? And then it starts with your family. It starts with bringing that out in your family, healing your relationships with your family. This is where miracles happen. This is where things really start to shift. And I know this is hard, and we've all been through a lot with some of our families, especially if we're the black sheep, right? Or, you know, I'm a parent, and my ex-husband thinks I'm bonkers, right? And so we have children together, and so, you know, it can be very challenging. And I understand all of these challenges that people go through, but it starts with you, it starts with your family, it starts with the people around you, and then you start spreading that out like a spiral. And my advice is that we all really focus on being the best role models as a humanity right now, and not worrying so much about the soul family or the star family, because what we need to focus on is the human family. We need solid role models for our children. You know, we need guides that are human right now for us to get through this process, because we really can't enter into that whole galactic scene until we know who we are as our own species, until we own that, until we're really looking out for each other, until we're really caring for each other, until we see all of our children as, you know, our own, right? And right now there's so much infighting, and we've got to get past it and see each other as fellow humans, right? And be role models. You know, I asked my children the other night, I have teenage boys, and I said, who's a male role model for you that, you know, you would look up to and admire because, you know, they are wise, and they are, you know, they have made a life for themselves, and that they treat women well, and they treat themselves with respect. And my kids were like, had no idea what to say. So this is where we need to go, is being role models for the human family. Yeah. That's what I think. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, you're doing that with your work, your book guy. Looks fantastic. So that's a good start, right? And then of course your website is a great place to go and explore. There's some you know, free material in there that people can explore, and then if you want to go deeper, you definitely have you know, sessions and so forth. So how would you go about teaching somebody this? Would you start them with some sessions, work your book, or how would that start?
Yeah, so I would recommend that they start with the online workshop I have called The Unseen Realm. It's on my homepage, and I have a discount code they can use. It's JACO, JACO 25 in all caps. You get 25% off. It's 4 hours of everything you would want to know about the unseen realm and the architecture of the spiritual realm and how it's set up. And it comes with an instruction manual as well. So you would have everything there, and I would start there and see how the information resonates and reflect on it and see if this is, you know, the kind of work that you would really like to do. And then I would say email me, because I would want to do maybe some one-on-one training sessions, or I've had a lot of other people reach out to me, and I might put a group together. And I know there's a lot of other people doing this work as well. So maybe if another spiritual person resonates more with you, do that. But if you've had a calling for it, now is the time to start really getting educated, doing work on yourself as well. You know, you need to be as strong and as clear in yourself first, because you can't hold that clarity or that safe space for anyone else unless you've really gone and taken out your own demons. And I write all about that in my book. I mean, I went through a lot, and I did a lot of training in this with all different kinds of methods. So, and I also have it in my workbook too. If you're more of a workbook person, Reignite Your Flame, there's processes through here, and then there's some processes you can do to help heal trauma and things like that. That's a little bit more for your own inner healing, but you have really got to be strong in yourself and clear with yourself and grounded in yourself to walk this path, so that you don't get compromised, and so that you're able to hold the space with people and be totally in your high heart, and to be able to, you know, live life that way with all these distractions that are always coming at us. It's not an easy path. I'm not going to say that it is, because you're always going to be getting attacks, and people are going to rip you apart, and people have made some really rude comments already just on this podcast, you know, so you're going to get that. But I will tell you, it is so worth it. It's so worth it when you know you're helping people.
Yeah. I'm looking through your site, and I get some fascinating stuff here. The keys to the Cathars, the Holy Grail, Cathar codes, Magdalene mysteries, forbidden wisdom. So that's something you have available now. And boy, I'm actually going to definitely do this one, Mysteries of the Dragons, coming August 9th. So tell us a little, how do you tap into this?
Yeah. Well, so I'm a walk-in, and so this was part of my mission. It was to bring healing. It was to bring remembrance about the information and connecting the dots, because we have little bits and pieces of information, but we don't really have the truth behind it or how they're all connected. So that's my motivation. And I do a lot of research as well. And so on every class, I started with the sources and resources where I did pull information from, or things that resonated, or places you can go for more information, because I think that's really important. It's not information. I'm not channeling. I'm not like just pulling stuff out of the sky or anything like that. It's coming from what I walked in with, and it's coming from me filling in the gaps with some resources, and even like ancient texts, like some of the ones that I mentioned today. Well, those are relevant to what I'm talking about. So that's why I wanted to say them up front. You know, you can go there for more information. You can never really cover everything in one class or one interview. So I'm always sharing where the information comes from. I think that's really important, because part of this false light is people are just channeling BS and selling it as truth. And we got to be really, really careful about that. And so, you know, we do have a connection to the dragons, and dragons, you know, in the Bible, there's some dark dragons, there's, you know, mother dragons, there's Satan dragons. What are these? What is our connection? Why do we talk about dragons? There's clearly some kind of cover up that they don't want us to know about the dragons, right? And how did they play out in this whole construct? Because my big thing, and people who listen to me, I sound like a broken record, but I'm always talking about the construct of the reality system as a whole. Our disclosure should be focused around the construct, because when you understand the bigger picture, then everything else falls into place, and you can kind of like reverse engineer things, and then you understand, and then you're not at the mercy of the controllers to get your information and hope that they disclose certain things. If you understand what they are from the get-go based on the construct, then everything kind of makes sense, and you can connect the dots yourself, right? So I'll be talking about that. And you mentioned Keys to the Cathars. I think that was one of my favorite classes ever. I love the information on the Cathars and the way they live their lives. And, you know, there is a reason why the Roman Catholic Church tortured them and genocided 1 million men, women, and children who were completely innocent and living the most pure way of life. They were called the pure ones, the good men and good women of the earth. You know, their way of life, they were ascending. They knew the secrets of ascension. They knew the secrets of the Grail. They had this information, and that's why they were targeted. And I go through all of that information in the class, and it's really important. And I'll end on this. You know, I was talking about, I don't like sharing past lives, and I think it's egoic, but I will share one. And it was a very humble life that I had, and I'm sharing it because it's relevant to the information that I bring forward, and the way the way that I'm bringing this forward with the classes and the information. I'm hoping this might activate some people, because there's a lot of Cathars that were purposely reincarnate at this time. It goes back to the Laurel prophecy. We said we'd be reincarnate 700 years ago, back in 1321, and we're in that time frame. And my name is Catherine Bishop, and it means Cathar, Bishop of the Cathars, guardians of the pure ones. So I did have a lifetime as that, and I'm just saying that to activate people. If this information resonates, I feel very connected to, you know, that information, and it's been very activating for a lot of people who watch that class. They watch it and they end up crying, and they're like, I feel like I got a soul retrieval. I feel like I got part of my soul back. It resonates. So not trying to say that any egoic way. It's just part of the mission and part of what I'm trying to bring back here for humanity, you know.
Yeah, very good. And your walk-in story is fascinating. So I've read that, and someone had the question. Let me see if I can find it, because there's a lot of chat going on. How can you be sovereign and a walk-in?
How would they not? I guess I don't understand how they wouldn't, why they would be separate.
Right.
Because
your walk-in is more advanced and was able to handle what you went through and helped you transition out of that pain and suffering that you had gone through. So, I mean, if you hadn't had a walk-in, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah. I mean, I chose this, right? So maybe that's the question. We're all sovereign. Walk-ins are sovereign just like everyone else. I don't know why there would be a difference, so I apologize. I don't understand the question, but I absolutely chose this. This was planned out generations in advance. This is the way the system works on the other side. It's you really have to almost like plead a case to bring information into, because it goes against not interference. I'm losing my words here, but you can't just come in with information from the outside. There has to be a reason for it, and you have to plead a case. And I came in with many walk-ins. We came in all at the same time to help raise the consciousness at the time of the time shift in 2012. So I'm one of many. I'm no one special. I'm just trying to bring everything I know forward, because that's what I love to do. And I hope it helps people. And if it doesn't, then just table it and move on with your life. But I hope this was helpful in some way, and I hope you find my classes helpful. And we're all sovereign. That's what's important. That's what I'm trying to teach today. You are protected by this law of dominion, and most people don't realize it, and they're giving their consent away without understanding. And so that's what I wanted to shed the light on. It's like, don't give your energetic consent away, your attention, your focus, your actions. That's your currency. That's the real currency. So, that's how they get you. That's when you give your consent away, and that's how you lose your sovereignty. So just be aware of that, right?
Yep. And on your website, the first page, earthbishop.com, you have a nice video where you explain a lot of this. So I would direct people there, and probably give you more insight. You might have to listen to it a few times, but if you're kind of a little confused about what we're talking about here, but that should help a lot of people. And then, you have monthly group meetings and all kind of crazy stuff. So that could be very beneficial and helpful to a lot of people, I think, going forward.
Yeah, I do a free monthly Zoom meeting for people, and we have Q&A discussions, and we share experiences. A lot of us out there feel lonely going through this process, this awakening process, and don't have a lot of friends where we can share everything with, because people will think you're crazy or they won't believe you. And so that provides a safe, non-judgmental space. They're not recorded. The only ones I record are when I bring a guest on. So like next month, August 19th, Laura Eisenhower is going to join us. And what she'll do is she'll talk. And then what I like to do for everyone that attends is open up, give them access to ask direct questions to the guest. So like the second half of our talk will be just like a live Q&A, so people can ask questions. And that's, again, it's just a free meeting. I do it every month to bring people together and feel like you're not alone. And so that's called Chess Club. It's called Earth Bishop Chess Club. It's not political. I just use the chess analogy because of my last name,
Love it. Very good. Yeah. So you're inspiring as always. The last show we had, and I looked at, you've done a few shows before we got together, and now I look at your list, and you've been on everybody's show now. That's anybody and everybody. So that's fantastic. So your information, your words getting out there, I think it's highly important during this time, this transition time. The information that you give freely, the information that you give for a very reasonable fee, from the books and everything else that you have is fantastic. So thanks so much, Katie. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for everyone listening, and know that you are sovereign. You already are. And let's focus on our human family. That's what I would say.
Beautiful. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you guys.
Michael. Thanks, everyone.
Restored Republic via GCR. Judy note. Look closer at the machinery that has enslaved human consciousness for millennia. It was never about nations, borders, or political parties. It has always been a spiritual and energetic warfare waged by the Khazarian mafia and their puppet masters. The financial chokehold, the 1913 Federal Reserve and the City of London act as the twin beating hearts of global debt slavery, funneling trillions into black budget operations, underground military bases, and human trafficking rings. The media monopoly. The 6 major corporate media conglomerates are entirely run by CIA/Mossad assets. Their sole directive is to project low-frequency fear, keeping humanity trapped in loops of helplessness, division, and artificial scarcity. The techno-censorship grid, Silicon Valley algorithms were engineered by intelligence agencies to suppress sovereign thought, alternative history, and spiritual awakening. The dominoes are falling. Every major historical event of the last 2 centuries was scripted by the same hidden hand to centralize power. The Titanic, 1912, not an accident, but the strategic elimination of prominent opponents to the creation of the Federal Reserve. The Bolshevik Revolution, 1917, funded entirely by Wall Street bankers to overthrow the Russian Tsar and establish a totalitarian template for global control. Operation Paperclip and Mockingbird, importing high-ranking Nazi scientists and intelligence operatives directly into the Pentagon, NASA, and mainstream media to weaponize psychological warfare against the American public. The Great Awakening cannot be stopped. The deep state operators are in a state of absolute panic. Their panic is visible in every desperate mainstream media narrative, every forced digital ID push, and every engineered crisis designed to distract the masses. They are cornered. The Vatican financial records are open. The trafficking tunnels beneath major global capitals have been mapped and targeted. The sovereign human collective is waking up to the frequency of love, truth, and unity. The emergency broadcast system, EBS, will soon sound off worldwide in 22 different languages. We're in the final stages of the Great Awakening. Trust the plan. WWG1G. A green light has been given for all global military alliance forces to commence the largest cleanup operation ever deployed on Earth. Their mission was to remove all harmful entities from positions of power and influence from the Earth. Mass arrests of all beings that harm humanity was imminent. By twos. Evening July 28, 2026, Delta forces had been deployed to every corner of the Earth to remove all cabal leaders from the face of the planet. This major offensive was designed to last 7 days. During that time all internet and phone communications across the Earth could be interrupted. Over the coming days the final remnants of the evil ones and their secret underground bases would be cleared. The Earth will emerge into a new era of freedom and peace. On Monday, July 27, 2026, the Trump Global Military Alliance activated. Their priority was Netanyahu, who was erased in a silent operation. At the same time U.S. tanks rolled into D.C. streets to vaporize deep state hideouts. Meanwhile, Trump headed to Israel to take command of the Temple Mount. By twos. 28th of July there were unexplained airspace restrictions and rerouting of commercial flights over specific maritime and polar corridors. The Global Military Alliance was transporting high-priority asset extractions and securing subterranean vault entrances. There were also 3 to 5 minute power flickers hitting major financial districts and data hubs in the middle of the day. Legacy fiat banking servers were having their master encryption keys wiped and redirected into the quantum financial system, QFS, nodes in real time. Additionally, there was a sudden influx of test alerts on mobile devices, radio channels, and digital billboards across multiple nations simultaneously. Starlink direct-to-cell synchronization was mapping every active transceiver on Earth to prepare for the uncensored military EBS override broadcast. Dozens of high-profile CEOs, tech directors and central bank officials were suddenly stepping down for personal reasons. They had lost their cryptographic access clearance to the old financial rails and were signing non-disclosure capitulation terms under alliance supervision. Worldwide banks that held trillions in fiat currency were losing control as their collection on so-called debts was being erased. The money always belonged to the people and the people were taking it back. A new gold-backed global financial system was rising as a great awakening to the world activated. B. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Twos. July 28, 2026, Donald Trump's advisor, Alina Habba, discovered the fake Oval Office where Joe Biden allegedly pretended to be president. The room includes a teleprompter positioned directly in front of him and a smaller desk for when he would play his role as president. The whole setup looks like a Hollywood studio. Twos. July 28, 2026, former CIA officer John Kiriakou listed the most dangerous countries in the world: Yemen, Somalia, Gaza, Afghanistan, Pakistan, which were all Muslim. Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. We must mass deport Muslims while we still can before we turn into one of these dangerous countries. The 2020 election was decided by around 44,000 votes in Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin. Now, we're finding people on the voter rolls, and that's just from the first 16 states. On Monday, July 27, 2026 at 3:14 UTC, the United States Space Force assumed direct command of global scalar power relays under Operation Energy Freedom 0727. 6,800 suppressed Tesla-free energy patents unlocked, powering the entire MedBeds network with unlimited zero-point energy. Petrodollar terminated. At 11:22 UTC, gold reserves went live as the fiat US dollar was abandoned. Quantum financial system nodes synchronized across 209 nations. On Wednesday, July 29, 2026, the global biological reset sequence locks. Emergency broadcast system begins 10 days of full disclosure. Starlink streams live medbed healing sessions worldwide as martial law secures the final pedophile and trafficking networks. Elites face tribunals for depopulation crimes. Global currency reset, E2s. July 28, 2026. Our military intel contact will have more later, but he just said they released everything at 3 p.m. PDT to start the shotgun release of liquidity and notifications over next 72 hours for the lower levels, tiers including 4B, he said more later. He said he is not allowed to talk about caps and limitations, and we will find out at the appointments, but he can say we will all be very happy with rates and the ZIM 90-day advance of $500 million till structured payout payments start coming to our accounts. Our military intel contact said all your non-ZIM currency exchange proceeds will be accessible immediately, but if the account funds are put under a structured payout program, you will have up to a $250 million advance till the first payout from the SPP. Your new wallet, formerly known as a bank account, on the new financial system is 100% immune to unconstitutional federal taxation, wealth taxes, or arbitrary banking freezes. The funds in your ledger belong exclusively to you and your designated generational trusts. F2s. July 28, 2026. NISRA and QFS plan what you need to know. Quantum financial system intel on Telegram. Reclamation, the return to a better state. This is about more than just land or money. It's about restoring what was taken by the elites through their criminal systems. NISRA will do that for U.S. citizens. Restitution/reparation, compensating for the years of illegal taxes, loans, and the financial enslavement we've suffered. The income taxes, mortgages, and credit cards. They've been used to keep us as chattel, with bonds taken out against our very lives, from birth certificates to social security numbers. Who's eligible? Those aged 24 to 61 plus are in line for massive lump sums depending on their age group. 61 plus, up to $61 million, 45 to 60, up to $38 million, 24 to 44, up to $23 million. This payout is reparation for the wrongs committed against us. NISRA and QFS plan. The process of RV redemption started. Actual signature forms like NDA and post-redemption plan documents, inside the exclusive world of redemption centers. The process of RV redemption is unfolding, and it's about more than just money. This is about reclaiming what's been stolen from us by the cabal, deep state, and banksters. Redemption centers are where we take back control, where NISRA/JAZAR protocols are in full effect. At these centers, we the people will receive higher exchange rates, phones, laptops, and even rainbow currency. If you've prepared your humanitarian initiative trust, you're in prime position to benefit. This isn't just a financial reset, it's God's plan, working through us to help humanity. Redemption types, currency exchange, for those with ZIM bonds, dinar, and dong, you're looking at double-digit rates at redemption centers, with gold-backed values. The ZIM bond is 1-to-1 to the new UST and dollar. You'll be asked to allocate a portion of your funds for humanitarian projects. We're not just saving ourselves, we're saving the world. XRP buyback. There's a $1 million per token value on XRP set by the QFS, already mirrored into quantum accounts. This buyback is part of a larger strategy to stabilize global markets and root out the evil. This is about more than money, this is about justice, about freedom, and about taking back what's ours. The deep state's grip is slipping, and this process is the path to redemption. The time is now, patriots. We must stand ready to rebuild and restore. G2s. July 28, 2026. Nizara/Jazara full activation. The Great Debt Wipeout begins. One of the cabal's biggest banks, gone. Doors sealed at midnight, assets frozen, executives vanished into military custody. No statement. No explanation. Just silence. Underground vaults breached, trillions in hidden gold/securities seized from Rothschild/Rockefeller networks. I2s. July 28, 2026. Following the successful execution of the Tier 4B verification and asset mapping protocols, the operational priority immediately shifts to long-term wealth preservation and absolute systems security. Now that your sovereign digital ledgers are fully synchronized with the one-to-one gold-backed QFS architecture, the old rules of financial exposure no longer apply. Here's the essential telemetry update for managing your post-exchange assets. The Quantum Wallet encryption lock. Once your sovereign balances are credited to your secure profile, the network initiates a 72-hour biometric and cryptographic lockdown. No external IP addresses, third-party applications, or unverified secondary devices can interface with your master ledger. Your private keys are strictly self-administered under natural sovereign law. The elimination of taxation traps. Because the legacy internal revenue loops and corporate debt structures were legally dissolved during the transition, your new asset baseline is 100% immune to unconstitutional federal taxation, wealth taxes, or arbitrary banking freezes. The funds in your ledger belong exclusively to you and your designated generational trusts. Community rebuilding and sovereign deployment for holders assigned to humanitarian and infrastructure funding tiers. The specialized project allocation channels open automatically within your encrypted dashboard. You are now fully equipped to finance localized energy independence, advanced health restoration centers, and community infrastructure without corporate or banking interference. The transition from debt slavery into absolute financial sovereignty is officially locked into the physical grid. Keep your communication channels silent, secure your private credentials, and manage your new reality with absolute discipline. The old world is closed. The sovereign future is live. J2s. July 28, 2026. Official. White Hat military takes control of global money system, Nizara active, QFS payments live, redemption centers open, trillions released. White Hat military forces have seized full operational command of the global financial redemption. They direct the release of trillions in asset-backed funds across 209 nations, dismantling the old fiat debt system and installing the quantum financial system as the unbreakable backbone of sovereign economies. This process strips power from central banks that bled American citizens for generations. The QFS operates on quantum-secured ledgers that reject manipulation, usury, and hidden taxation. Every redemption transaction traces in real time, shielding patriots and everyday workers from the theft that funded endless wars and bureaucratic empires. President Trump's team coordinates this with military precision. Secure channels routed the final triggers, bypassing compromised institutions to deliver immediate liquidity to aligned nations. America's 250th anniversary on July 4, 2026, marks the public unveiling. Trump prepares a declaration that restores constitutional money and ends the private Federal Reserve stranglehold. This date delivers the decisive blow against globalist control and returns economic sovereignty to the people who built this republic. Nizara activates the framework that cancels illegitimate debt, abolishes the income tax on wages, and returns seized wealth to American families. Jazara extends the same protections worldwide. White Hats have released initial tranches with funds flowing into redemption accounts and sovereign treasuries right now. The old system collapses under its own weight while the new one stands operational and defended by military assets. Trump's preparations tie directly into this reset through public events celebrating restored freedom alongside tangible prosperity. The deep state can no longer suppress this transition via controlled media and financial gatekeepers. Military oversight ensures American citizens receive priority protection while the bureaucracy that enriched itself at their expense is starved. This fulfills the America First mandate. Sovereignty returns to the people. Citizens reclaim control over their labor, land, and future. The global currency reset completes under white hat direction, and July 4, 2026, will etch this victory into history. K2s. July 28, 2026. While corporate media anchors label these events as isolated software glitches or routine maintenance, the physical reality across global markets confirms the exact operational shifts we outlined. Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. The commercial banking shutdowns are live over the last 48 hours. Major international banking networks and payment clearing hubs across multiple regions experienced sudden, synchronized processing freezes. ATM networks and digital mobile banking apps went dark simultaneously. Why? Because the legacy central banking software rejected unbacked fiat routing packets as the ISO 20022 quantum verification filters locked into place. Aviation and logistics network overrides. Major transport and supply chain logistics grids reported sudden communication drop-offs and system reboots. These are the exact tactical corridors where the old maritime logistics tracking codes are being scrubbed and replaced by autonomous sovereign verification nodes under alliance oversight. The media silence on corporate failures. Notice how quickly the mainstream financial networks glossed over the massive liquidity clearing anomalies at primary commercial institutions. They are under strict administrative gag orders because the old balance sheets cannot reconcile physical asset backing ratios. The transition from theory into physical reality is no longer a forward projection. It is unfolding in real time across every public ledger, banking terminal, and communication grid on Earth. Look at the public error screens. Read between the lines of the corporate reports. The physical proof is right in front of you. Stay sharp. Stay encrypted. The restoration is moving fast. The transition, M2s. July 28, 2026 bombshell, 300,000 federal indictments. The swamp's collapse is imminent. The biggest corruption takedown in U.S. history is happening now. 300,000 federal indictments, the very core of the swamp is crumbling. Politicians, judges, CEOs, Hollywood elites, exposed. Child exploitation, human trafficking, treason, every crime imaginable. The list is astounding, and it's only the beginning. This isn't just another scandal. This is a full-scale purge. Gitmo is preparing for the flood. Planes are on standby. The deep state's worst nightmares are coming true. The swamp tried to hide it, sealed indictments, secret trials, media blackouts, but patriots fought back. The numbers skyrocketed, from 35,000 to 60,000. Now 300,000. A tidal wave of justice that can't be stopped. Gitmo cells are filling fast. The elite's crimes, especially those targeting children, are the darkest stains on this nation. High-ranking officials, both Democrat and Republican, exposed as predators, pedophiles, traffickers, Satanists. All of them. They thought they were untouchable. They thought their secrets would stay buried. They were wrong. Massive resignations, sudden retirements, desperate media distractions, they're running scared. But there's nowhere left to hide. The news tightens daily. Gitmo is waiting. The storm isn't coming. It's here. Trust the plan. Justice is being served. The swamp is draining, and it's glorious. N2s. July 28, 2026. Netanyahu vanishes. Trump heads to Israel as global military alliance activated. Last night, Monday, July 27, 2026, Netanyahu was erased in a silent operation. No trace, no body, just divine vanishing. Every move was hours from the start, scripted to expose the Zionist cabal's grip on humanity. The Trump Global Military Alliance activated as POTUS heads to Israel under cover of the storm, to take command of the Temple Mount, reclaims it for God's true warriors. Meanwhile, U.S. martial law explodes into full force, tanks roll on D.C. streets, deep state hideouts vaporized by tactical strikes. O2s. July 28, 2026. Global signal anomalies reported worldwide. Over the past 24 hours, thousands of independent users across multiple countries have begun reporting unusual disruptions across communication networks. Entire television channels have gone offline without explanation. Radio frequencies in several regions briefly cut out and then returned with distorted signals. Mobile networks in major cities experienced unexplained outages lasting anywhere from a few minutes to nearly an hour. Social media users are posting videos of broadcast interruptions, frozen news segments, and emergency signal tests appearing on local channels. None of the major media outlets are addressing it. At the same time, Satellite traffic monitoring platforms have recorded an abnormal increase in Starlink routing activity. Several network analysts have confirmed that large portions of global data traffic are now being redirected through secure satellite nodes rather than traditional ground infrastructure. Power grid monitoring groups are also reporting small, synchronized fluctuations across multiple regional grids. Not failures. Adjustments. These are not random events. Systems around the world appear to be transitioning into a controlled communications phase that many analysts have been quietly anticipating for months. Military communication channels remain active. Civilian broadcast infrastructure, however, is gradually being placed into standby. If you are seeing temporary signal interruptions, broadcast tests, or sudden outages, understand that you are not alone. Reports are now coming in from North America, Europe, Australia, and parts of Asia. Something coordinated is clearly taking place behind the surface. Remain calm. Remain aware. Tomorrow may explain why these global preparations are happening. Separated from God and the love we all are. Separated in religions, race, politics, creating dark for centuries. Separated by a small group who benefited from the controlling of the energies and the people. This small group, the satanic elite, the Illuminati, the Cabal. All the 13 royal families of Europe, Baltic and Russian countries claim their ancestor as Wotan or Odin, reptilian. Serpent symbolism is all over the Catholic religion. In St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, the Pope literally sits in the mouth of a serpent as the tongue and preaches deception. The Druze bloodline of Jesus are the descendants of Jethro, the priest of Midian in the Bible and Torah, Exodus 2:18. The 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln, descent from the Kaluni family. In 1855 ISIS was formed by kings of Morocco and Libya, Hassan family, together with the royal British family. They signed in the Mohammedan truce. 6 years later they merged with Skull and Bones, Rothschild, Schiff, Rockefellers, Scherf aka Bush, Kissingers, etc. Skull and Bones. ISIS assassinated JFK. 1855, ISIS formed by Sanusi family linked to UK royals, Khazarians. 1861, merged with 322 Skull and Bones Khazarians. 1870 to 1930 Big Pharma, Khazarian. 1871, Act of England, secret constitution placed by secret societies, Khazarians. 1912, Titanic/Olympic sinking, who was on board, what really happened. 1913, Federal Reserve, 1917 to 1923 Bolshevik Revolution. 1945 to 1959 Operation Paperclip/Mockingbird. 1948, Israel formed Khazarian/Bolshevik government. 1949, Mossad equals CIA formed. Whistleblower General Flynn exposed the Gulen terrorist network. Flynn discovered that the Obama administration was creating funding and arming of jihadists who later waved the flag of ISIS. These jihadist actions were taking place in Gaza. Obama, with the help of CIA, NATO and his jihadist cronies, were seeking to top Assad in Syria. These treasonous administrations created funding of ISIS-AO, the US/jihadist morphed into THR Arab Spring, destabilized the Middle East and created the orchestrated migration crises. Hillary took part in the launching of the Arab Spring as Secretary of State under the Obama administration. Flynn blew the whistle on the involvement in the Gulen terrorist network of the Obama administration and by default of H.W. Bush, G. Bush, Clinton, the State Department, FBI, CIA and the dog. Now circle back to Israel today and do not be fooled. Those buildings fully collapsing in Gaza Strip being hit from one missile are controlled demolitions. Deep state operators inside both Israel and Palestine camps have been infiltrated long ago, Mossad/CIA. Israeli handlers are in fact Mossad, UK MI6, Rothschilds, CIA. Dominion servers have a lot to hide from human trafficking, to Epstein creation, to the Vatican Bank and the Mossad/Khazarian mafia controlling Ukraine. Connections from the snake pit of corruption by Israeli elites run deep into United States MSM, CIA, control. S. This bombshell information serves as a rallying cry for all truth seekers. The storm that Q spoke of as raging and victory is within reach. Trust the plan, stay strong and know that the children will be avenged as a new era of freedom and justice begins for the world. What we think we know as of Wednesday, July 29, 2026, Twos. July 28, 2026, global warming is a scam, climate change is of natural origin. CO2 is very good for plant growth. It's nothing more than another hoax by the elite, with the complicit execution of their governmental and media lackeys. Ivar Giver, Nobel Prize in Physics. 2s. July 28, 2026. A new memo exposes Biden officials in their final days plotted to grant de facto amnesty to 3 million foreign invaders via DPS, in a last-minute bid to block President Trump from deporting them, forcing everything through activist judges before Trump would take office. That's straight-up treason, aiding and abetting violent invaders. This is why mass deportations must be supercharged. Tuesday, July 28, 2026. Say goodbye to iPhones. Phones have already been manufactured in Germany, US, and the UK, with a final software upgrade in the US. This smartphone is three-dimensional and of the highest quality. It will become one of the main tools for direct credit and expenditures in daily life for consumer retail and business commerce domestically and internationally. This is a $500 million manufacturing operation in 3 countries. 7 billion phones will be dispersed to all people on Earth. The QFS will create its own internet that will work off its trinary code and perhaps a G8 network for SATCOM. 2s. July 26, 2026. Breaking special report. Trump signs executive order to ban Wall Street from buying family homes. The American dream is not for sale. 2s. July 26, 2026. Operation Payback. $2,000 rebates and investment accounts for every American baby the people get paid. 2s. July 26, 2026. Breaking, U.S. military alert, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth drops the hammer, War Department terminates all Harvard programs, we train warriors, not wokesters. 2s. July 26, 2026. Military intel, U.S. military versus deep state and military-industrial complex, military coup versus counter-coup, 11.3 operations. Tied. The executive order gives the U.S. till 120 days to begin the declassification review. Priority is given to patents older than 20 years, meaning technologies invented in the 1990s and earlier will be released first. Royal Rife's beam ray technology was patented in 1936. Antoine Priory's electromagnetic cancer treatment was documented in the 1960s. Robert Becker's bioelectric regeneration research was funded by the U.S. military and then buried when he refused to weaponize it. These are not theories. They are patented inventions that were taken from their creators by the government and locked in a vault. The pharmaceutical industry generates $1.48 trillion per year globally. Every one of those 6,321 patents represents a technology that could reduce dependency on pharmaceutical drugs. Every one was classified not because it was dangerous, but because it was effective. The order has a 120-day implementation window. That window opened 11 days ago. 109 days remain. When the patents are released, anyone can build them. Anyone can manufacture them. The suppression ends not with a revolution, but with a PDF download. 6,321 cures. Exposed in 109 days. The countdown has already started. On July 17, 2025, Vice President J.D. Vance sat at the Situation Room table and uttered words that sent shockwaves through Trump's inner circle. This is a huge problem. The Epstein files were about to detonate. What the mainstream media won't tell you is that Vance wasn't panicking about Trump, he was panicking because the truth was about to come out, and the globalist cabal protecting these monsters was finally being exposed. The Justice Department released a memo claiming there was no client list of powerful men connected to Epstein. But that memo was a lie. The real documents, buried in classified vaults, contain names. Hundreds of them. Politicians, celebrities, corporate titans, intelligence operatives. The memo was damage control. But here's what the deep state didn't count on: Vance saw through it. According to insiders in that Situation Room, the vice president was pounding on the Epstein issue and privately pressing for the administration to release everything. He was demanding a full congressional investigation. He understood what was at stake. Not just the presidency, but the entire criminal network operating in the shadows for decades. The panic in that room was palpable. Susie Wiles told others that Vance had become a major conspiracy theorist. But that's exactly what they say when someone gets too close to the truth. When you realize that conspiracy theories are actually documented reality, they call you crazy. The Wall Street Journal was preparing an article that would have destroyed Trump's presidency. The administration's desperate attempts to kill the story had failed. They were scrambling, trying to manage the optics while keeping the real evidence locked away. But the cracks are showing. What nobody is talking about is the real reason for the panic. The Epstein files implicate the entire infrastructure of power running this country from the shadows. Intelligence agencies that protected him. Prosecutors who looked the other way. Media that buried the stories. Politicians who benefited from his network. It's all connected, and it's all about to come into the light. The alliance has been quietly securing these documents. Military intelligence has been mapping the entire network, every transaction, every connection, every name. The sealed indictments are ready. The tribunals are prepared. The moment of reckoning is approaching, and the deep state knows it. They told you there was no client list. They lied to hide industrial-scale human trafficking. The files are coming. The names will be released. Justice will be served. The panic in the Situation Room was just the beginning. The storm is here. Y2s. July 28, 2026 News Nation. Investigative journalist Catherine Herridge says she found evidence that Joe Biden's family was being blackmailed by China, and shows the documents, and our mainstream media ignored the evidence. What we saw in the release of the records, which I think in the media or legacy media there was kind of a willful blindness. They didn't want to look at the records. All you had to do was spend a couple of hours. I found these records which are talking about blackmail by China. It was for President Biden's daily brief. I can conclude, I think, that it was probably about targeting his family. She explains earlier that all this was ignored and buried by the FBI, CIA and the media in order to keep Democrats in power. Z2s. July 28, 2026 An executive order was signed 11 days ago that declassifies over 6,000 suppressed medical patents. Not one mainstream outlet has reported it. Executive Order 14,263. Signed May 2026. Title: Restoring Medical Innovation Through Patent Transparency. It was not announced at a press conference. It was not on the evening news. It was uploaded to the Federal Register at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. The order directs the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to release all patents currently held under secrecy orders related to human health, bioelectric medicine, and frequency-based therapeutic devices. There are 6,321 of them. Since 1951, the Invention Secrecy Act has allowed the U.S. government to classify any patent that is deemed a threat to national security. The inventor is issued a secrecy order. They cannot manufacture the device. They cannot publish the research. They cannot tell anyone it exists. If they violate the order, they face 2 years in federal prison. As of 2025, there were 5,915 active secrecy orders. The government has never disclosed what technologies are being suppressed. But patent attorneys who have reviewed the categories confirm that a significant portion fall under biomedical devices and electromagnetic therapeutic apparatus. Fred. The pharmaceutical industry generates $1.48 trillion per year globally. Every one of those 6,321 patents represents a technology that could reduce dependency on pharmaceutical drugs. Every one was classified not because it was dangerous, but because it was effective. The order has a 120-day implementation window. That window opened 11 days ago. 109 days remain. When the patents are released, anyone can build them. Anyone can manufacture them. The suppression ends not with a revolution, but with a PDF download. 6,321 cures. Exposed in 109 days. The countdown has already started. He contacted us from a non-extradition country. His identity is verified. His words. Unedited. From 2008 to 2020, I was a senior director of strategic acquisitions. My team had an unlimited budget. We didn't look for new drugs. We looked for frequency-based medical devices. If a private lab or an independent scientist developed a device that used electromagnetic frequency to reverse cellular damage, my team got an alert. We would fly out. We would offer them $10 million, $50 million, sometimes $100 million for the exclusive rights to their patent. If they said yes, they signed an NDA, took the money, and we put the patent in a dark file. If they said no, we destroyed them. I personally oversaw the acquisition of 41 different patents. 2011, a device that used scalar waves to eliminate arterial plaque in 48 hours. We bought it for $32 million. It never saw the light of day. We sell $14 billion worth of statins every year instead. Camp Justice at Guantanamo Bay is no longer just a name, it's a symbol. A fortress. A judgment machine. This is where traitors come to face their fate. Diego Garcia. Activated. Global Tribunal Hubs. Online. The Judge Advocate General's, JAG, court is sharpening its blades, and there will be no mercy. Special OPS, the hunt is on. You thought you could run. Hide. Blend into the shadows. Wrong. Every move you've made, every resource you've touched, has been tracked. Your safe houses. Known. Your fake IDs. Exposed. Even the supplies you've stashed for survival. They'll be your undoing. Special Operations Forces have been watching, waiting, and preparing. Their orders are clear: strike fast, strike hard, and leave no stone unturned. This isn't a drill. This is the green wave of justice, sweeping through the nation and delivering swift blows to the deep state machine. The military presence you'll see in your cities. It's not tyranny, it's liberation. Americans, do not fear. The storm is not against you, it's for you. The Military Commissions Act, America's secret weapon. The Military Commissions Act of 2006 isn't just a piece of paper. It's a weapon forged in the fires of necessity, a legal juggernaut created to annihilate enemies of the Republic. These tribunals are merciless, designed to bypass the snail-paced civilian system and deliver fast, decisive justice. Here's what makes it terrifying for the guilty: -sign emoji, classified evidence. Allowed, -sign emoji, extreme measures. Greenlit, -sign emoji, no room for games or loopholes. This is a system that's built to crush, not compromise. It's a hammer of righteousness swinging down with unrelenting force. If you've betrayed the United States, don't bother pleading for fairness. There's no fairness for traitors, only consequences. Camp Justice, the unbreakable judgment machine. Welcome to Camp Justice, the unyielding epicenter of America's pursuit of traitors and enemies. This is where the deepest secrets come to light and where no one escapes the long arm of justice. The name itself carries weight, a reminder that every lie, every betrayal, and every treasonous act will be met with fire and fury. From its origins on Diego Garcia to its transformation into the powerhouse at Guantanamo Bay, Camp Justice has been a silent, unstoppable force. Now, it steps into the spotlight as the crown jewel of military tribunals. If you find yourself within its walls, know this: there is no escape. No second chances. Only judgment. The storm is here, a thunderclap of accountability. Donald Trump wasn't bluffing when he told us to be ready and be prepared. The storm he promised is not metaphorical, it's real, and it's roaring across the country like a hurricane of accountability. For too long, the enemies of the Republic thought they were untouchable. They laughed, mocked, and believed their fortress of lies would stand forever. Now, that fortress is rubble. Every piece of this storm is precise and deliberate. From the activations of military hubs to the deployment of special ops, every move has been planned for maximum impact. This isn't chaos. This is calculated, cold precision. The storm has been brewing for years, and now it's unleashed with unstoppable force. Recently uncovered documents support that for financial gain, that for over 80 years there's been an attack on the good health of the people by the American Medical Association, AMA, Big Pharma, World Health Organization, WHO. This massive and powerful healthcare industry has covered up benefits of body regenerative medbed technology, while pushing addictive drugs that degenerate the body. Such philosophy fit into the deep state cabal New World Order depopulation agenda. He's now in a non-extradition country. His identity is verified. His testimony is documented. Breaking the NDA because he has nothing left to lose. 41 different patents. All acquired. All buried. All capable of ending the pharmaceutical industry overnight. The deep state didn't suppress technology, they bought it to make sure you could never have it. Profit over life. Control over freedom. But the alliance has copies of everything. Military intelligence documented every acquisition. Every vault. Every destroyed scientist. Every buried cure. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. Trump has secretly used Swiss intermediaries to negotiate directly with Tehran. Iran has secretly agreed to completely dismantle its nuclear program. In exchange, the U.S. blockade is lifting, but on Trump's terms. The U.S. will control the strait, and the deal includes $500 million in seized deep state assets that are being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. Largest healthcare fraud in U.S. history, Operation Gold Rush exposes $14.6 billion medical scam. On September 11, 2001, 2 planes hit 2 World Trade Center buildings in New York, but 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed, and with it some of the most high-profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA/Mossad/ISIS. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods. CIA/Mossad/ISIS is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish, control and starve you via their Great Reset New World Order. The USAID files will expose every NGO, front company, donor, associate, and individual against President Trump and the American people themselves. USAID has been a U.S. taxpayer money laundering front for the financing of deep state, Rouge agency operations, and CIA-sponsored regime changes across the world. Even though a court order has been issued ordering access for the Trump administration, the Department of Justice has still been denied access to the encrypted codes of the USAID files. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. Fox News, $27 billion in Obamacare fraud exposed. Fake identities, stolen social security numbers, and 160,000 legitimate accounts hacked and altered. House Republicans say weak Biden-Harris safeguards enabled the massive theft. Trump admin is now removing millions of fraudulent enrollments. This is what happens when they dismantle anti-fraud protections. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. The quantum financial system release will create a self-deportation of at least 20 million because in order to collect money sitting in their QFS wallet, they have to be a citizen of the country. That means car and housing markets will crash, service industries will close among others, there will be an apartment glut and schools will close. Happy times are ahead, Julian Assange on Telegram. Global currency reset. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. Nizar Jazara connected on Telegram. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation, it's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. Wednesday, July 29, 2026 marks, looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters.